Welcome to Divisive Issues, the foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where two fans and two non-fans talk about controversial and noteworthy comic books and comic book history. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
And we're here, week 3 of 52.
Week 27 of 52.
Yes, we're covering issues
Our week
27.
3, this comic's week 27.
If only we could have read this over 27 weeks instead of 3.
That was the original plan, by the way. And
Yeah, Sly wanted to do weekly, one issue at a time, and I was like, that sounds terrible. So we will be covering Volume 3, if you're reading it in trade, or issues 27 to 39 of 52. We are not going to recap, so listen to the last 2 episodes if you haven't.
Can I?
But, yes.
I just want to say, wait, you can finish your thing and then I'll say something after.
I was going to say, I just want to say, I hate this comic, I hate all of you, I hate this show.
He's quoting a lot of
And as always, as we've said the last couple weeks, I would most of us have said that we would recommend you actually read these books. They're pretty easily available at this point, and they're great. And I think that you would be better suited to read them than listen to our recap of them. Mm-hmm. And they are still mostly the same creative teams, written by Jeff Johns, Greg Rucka, Grant Morrison, and Mark Waid. Art breakdowns by Keith Giffen. Some new pencilers. We have Chris Batista, Joe Bennett, Tom Derenick, Jamal Eigel, Phil Jimenez, Drew Johnson, Dan Jurgens, Sean Mole, Patrick Alief, Joe Prado, and Andy Smith.
Ooh.
Get the whole team together.
Yes. So, Darryl.
Oh, I was going to say, if we did this weekly, I feel like I'd do a lot more whinging than I usually do because of the fact that this is, like... I would have no idea where so much of this is going, whereas I still don't have an idea of where a lot of this is going, but at least you get to see more complete, like, oh, okay, then they go here, and then they talk here, and then this happens.
I can't imagine remembering half of a year ago, like, oh yeah, like, they were in Nanda Parbat.
Yeah, reading comics, I always kind of felt reading comics weekly, monthly. Is not an ideal circumstance. Mm-hmm. I have to get a trade before I know I even like a book.
Yeah, that's actually a problem that I have with, as we've talked about extensively on the show, my bad brain and how I can't remember anything we read. And, like, there'll be books that people be like, oh, I remember, like, this showed up 3 issues ago. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Even TV shows that are weekly, I don't watch that way usually. I'm like, I wait till the season's done. Mm-hmm. And
I do for sure, because with the show I talk about a lot, because that helps me remember when I'm talking about it constantly. Yeah. But comics,
that's true.
I remember a lot of comics I read with Joe at the same time as Joe and Ryan, because we always talk about it immediately afterwards.
Yes. That's one thing in our Discord that is, once I actually talk to people about it, that's a really good point. So and before we get started, I also want to mention it is the Patreon Drive. And that is why we're doing these weekly episodes. So if you want to head over to flyingmachine.network/support, you get a lot more details. I'll explain some of the specifics at the end because these episodes seem to have always run long, so I don't want to belabor the point. But just last week, I released 10 bonus episodes at the $1 tier of audio versions of my music blog. So you should definitely head over to patreon.com/flyingmachine or flyingmachine.network/support or our Facebook group, Flying Machine Explorers Guild, to get all the details. There's lots of giveaways, contests, all sorts of fun stuff throughout the month.
Cool.
Okay, so we ready to jump in with week 27?
Are we?
Take us away, Ryan.
Take us away, Dr. Fate's helmet.
Take us away, Calgon.
Calgon, take me away. So, we open with Ralph Dibny, the Elongated Man, with his spirit guide, Dr. Fate's helmet. It's just
what a
hat
statement.
that falls around and says riddles.
The Elongated Man with Dr. Fate's helmet going through hell.
So like I said, if you haven't listened to the first 2 episodes, what are you doing? Don't start here. Ralph Dibny is still on his quest to learn all about magic so he can resurrect his wife. And
we didn't know that last time, and... That's what
it was pretty obvious last time.
Yeah, I thought it was
so I don't want to say it because you said the resurrection scene didn't matter. It's clearly set him off on this path.
He's like, he could have done that naturally. Like
he couldn't have. Clearly he needed to be jostled into action. He was about to kill himself, and this mystery is what kept him alive, basically. Like he was about to kill himself, and this mystery is now only thing keeping him going.
I'm saying, like, without the resurrection scene, I could still see him going along this path. If he found out magic's real, and
he
then
was literally going to kill himself. He was literally not going to do what you're saying, Darryl. He was going to kill himself. He got a call. Something happened to the fucking gravesite. Then he started investigating the mystery.
Yeah, he did have a gun in his mouth when he first started.
You are literally wrong. He was dead first page without the setup. I'm sorry, Darryl.
Man, we're never getting through this.
I'm saying at the resurrection. Never mind. Whatever. I'll let Sly.
No, but making that when Darryl literally says something that's wrong. It's literally wrong. He literally is going to kill himself. It's literally wrong.
Okay, so Ralph Dibny is now meeting with the Spectre, who is the divine spirit of vengeance sent by God to get revenge on people. And he's like, hey, I know that you walk this line between life and death. I'm willing to pay the price to bring my wife back. Can you? And the Spectre points out that he no longer has his host, so he's kind of like this unbridled crazy guy.
Yeah, that's why he's also acting crazy in Infinite Crisis, because he needs a host to keep him basically not just a crazy, inhumane spirit of vengeance.
Yeah. So Spectre's like, absolutely, I can help you. So let's put you through a test.
Let's go to space.
That reminds me to seem more friendly than it is. Like, Ralph doesn't want to go to Spectre, but he has to. And Spectre's not friendly to him at all. Like, this is very much like, I have to meet you to resurrect my wife.
And they keep bringing up the fact that magic, Ralph Dibny's like, I know magic has to have a price, and I'm willing to pay it. I'll pay the price. And he's always saying, like, there's always prices to be paid to use this magic. And so he's...
Same thing we got the last time he was in Hell in Dante's Inferno.
Yes. So he takes her to he takes Ralph to some deep pit of space where he finds Jean Loring, the woman who murdered his wife, who's now like possessed by some DC character. She's floating in space. Doesn't
Her
really
body's
matter.
possessed,
placed in solar
Yeah.
orbit by the Shadow Pact to eternally nullify her shadow-fueled sorcery.
Yes. So she's been possessed by someone named Eclipso. Basically, Ralph is like, I am going to exact vengeance on you, because that's the price that I have to pay, is I have to be the spirit of vengeance. And he starts fighting Jean a little, and then he's like, I'll show you hell. And he transports her somewhere. Then we get a quick cut we go to Wave Rider, who's just some time travel character who's kind of just like hiding in a room of clocks, because that's what you do, I guess. And then other time travel characters show up.
Time Commander!
We were supposed to be the new Time Masters.
I actually just yesterday read a story. I think it's like the only story with Time Commander in it. And I was like, what a dumb character. I don't think he ever shows up ever again. Apparently he does. The book I read was from like 1962.
And when we say he shows up in an hourglass, and he starts basically turning to sand in the hourglass, fading away. He's like, you said you'll be like the new Time Master. You said you give us something in favor. You didn't say we're all gonna fucking die. Fuck you, and then he dies.
Yeah. So Wave Rider is this like golden guy with like flaming hair that it seems we get from exposition that he was creating some sort of like time travel team. And then Skeet shows up, the Booster Gold's robot buddy, who's been pretty evil for a little while now. And he's trying to find Rip Hunter, who's the time master.
And Wave Rider says explicitly, like, Skeets, you're behind everything. You cause all this time travel.
Yeah, you're splintering the historical main line. And then Skeets is like, no, it was actually when Luther came from Earth 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he says, like, Infinite Crisis is what broke the timeline, but I'm molding it like wet cement.
Yeah. When is Rip Hunter, Matthew? Tell me.
Yeah. And he's been searching for Rip Hunter the whole time, and he thinks Wave Rider could tell him, and he's like, you still can't find him. He spent his entire life preparing for the kinds of adversaries a time traveler would face. So he says, like, he exposits that, like, Rip Hunter wanted to protect himself from time travelers, so he changed his name. He made sure nobody ever knew when he was a baby, so that no one could go, like, murder him as a baby.
Smart.
Yeah. And Skeets is like, do you know where the golden metal that makes my body impervious to the ravages of time portals come from? Do you know whose corpse it was burned off? Discovered in a deep grave 500 years from now? Take a guess. And he starts like melting Wave Rider's body.
Yeah, he basically tortures him to death.
Yeah. Skeets is pretty scary, I think, at this point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he's just like, Skeets is continuing his quest to hunt down all the time travelers to try to find Rip
My
Hunter.
question about Skeets, guys, is whatever, because obviously something's going wrong with him. He's not normally evil, so something's making him evil. But did he always have these guns and this power, or is like whatever's making him evil also giving him extra guns or something? Because I'm like, you don't have to answer, but I'm like, even if someone was possessing him, I'm like, why would this museum robot have like an arsenal?
I don't remember him having guns before this. I kind of remember him just flying around. The thing is, Booster Gold did deactivate him and leave him in a box of old porno tapes for about 10 years.
Okay.
Also, they went to the future and came back to be more prepared.
That's true. That's true. Remember, Booster came back with a bunch of like better tech and stuff too. So
Okay.
I guess that would make sense. But like in the 80s and stuff, I don't remember him having like lots of guns.
Like
and
he's
weapons.
so strong for a museum
Yeah.
security robot.
Yeah, he's pretty strong. So then we cut to Nanda Parbat, where The Question and Renee Montoya are hanging out with Richard Dragon, the kung fu fighter, and Tot, the like guy in the chair, scientist guy. And Richard is training Renee in like all sorts of like fighting, kung fu stuff, helping her. And he's still like, he's doing like the Zen like question, you know, like who are you? Who are you?
Get to
you
know
you have
yourself
to
fight others or whatever type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they mention that in Nanda Parbat, time feels like different. They don't really judge it by days. They judge it by like routines and cycles. And like it's kind of like this weird, I don't know, like you see this in like Zen kind of like kung fu movies all the time, where it's like this place where only the art matters and like everything else kind of stands.
It's like where Batman went to train, right? Wasn't it in the Himalayas or whatever? Like they're in like Tibet here, even though I don't know if they say that, but it looks like they're in like the Himalayan mountains.
It looks like they're in Batman Begins place, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I always found weird, about this sequence is I always found it weird that Question gives him to he takes Renee to his trainer instead of training her himself. I always found that kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they kind of get into why.
They do kind of get
a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then we get back to the crime Bible, thank God.
Well, yeah, so they're studying the crime Bible, and Tot is, and he's just like, it's a whole religion based on crime. We talked about this a lot last time.
I'm never gonna let this go. By the way, I will never.
Oh, and by the way, I'm reading this. I flipped. Crime Bible's awesome.
Fuck you.
Stories and parables, thanks.
I remember Mannheim from the Superman cartoon and all these other stuff. He was always just a generic villain. Like like you say, he's a kingpin. I'd rather have something potentially dumb that's unique than just another crime boss. This is at least memorable to me.
Counterpoint, I would like to point out Greg Rucka, the guy who writes the scene. In the letter, he says, "The religion of crime, and I must confess, I loathe that name. Hey, buddy, want to join the religion of crime? Sure. This is really dumb. The Lovecraft fan in me thinks it's so stupid. Why not call it the Way of Sin or Dark Fate? Religion of crime and Crime Bible? Who does their marketing? Jesus."
I like the fact it's called Crime Bible because it makes it more comic booky. I'm going to defend this. I'll die.
Okay.
Dark Fate would be at least palatable.
Anyway,
The more you argue about these concepts, the more I
know.
The worse my opinions will get. The worse my opinions will get, guys. You make me defend the
Sly is just a
shittiest
drill
shit
to
possible.
me.
Don't fucking try to argue me.
So anyway, now we get to the Renee Vick story takes a bit of a hard turn here, where she says, Tot's studying the crime Bible, and Charlie, what does my friend Charlie do? Charlie coughs. It started just after we got here. Charlie says it's the altitude, that he's having trouble acclimating. I was the pack-a-day smoker, but he's having trouble acclimating. He has tea, acupuncture, pressure points, he has lots of pills. He's sick and he's not getting better, and I'm scared for him. And he says, like, it sounds worse than it is, and
But she says, like, when'd you quit? Because basically he was telling her don't smoke because he smoked so much that now he's dying.
And he's known about 7 months, so he's known this entire book. And he doesn't have much longer to live. It's metastasized. And she's like, well, why me? Out of 8 billion people, why'd you pick me? And he says, that's the question.
Isn't it pronounced metastasized?
Yeah, it is. But
what did I say?
You said metastasized.
Like the metagene, you know?
I just found it like Ryan always purposely says things wrong, like shamamily, and I was like, are you fucking me?
I don't know. So Vic has lung cancer, and he doesn't have long to live. And meanwhile, when they look at... Renee goes back to look at the crime Bible, and she realizes that there's...
a village called Gotham. Gatham in 1080. It's where we get the word Gotham from. And they talk about that Gatham is missing its Knight Protector, and they will devour the heart of the daughter of Cain.
Yeah, so like everything happening is like prophesized in this crime Bible.
None of this matters.
So, well, no, it matters because...
You have no idea what matters what doesn't. Shut the fuck up.
I know this doesn't matter.
So, well, the reason why it matters quite a lot...
You're wrong about what matters what doesn't. You fucking will say, I don't know anything about what matters what doesn't at the end of the
I
podcast.
cannot wait to finish this, and next episode is going to begin. I'm going to be like, none of this matters. You were wrong.
Okay,
You're wrong. Fuck, I read the fucking story. You challenged me. You fucking dare challenge me.
Gotham is going to come back, Darryl. The 1080 city.
They immediately explain why it matters, because the daughter of Cain is Kate Kane, who is Batwoman, and that's what causes Renee to leave Nanda Parbat, because she wants to go, because she thinks that the religion of crime is going after her ex-girlfriend, Kate Kane, and they need to go save her because of their like prophecy or whatever. So then we cut back to Ralph Dibny, and one thing I want to say, the framing device now is week -84 because they've gone back in time.
Oh, that's cool.
They go back to the death of Sue Dibny.
Yes, from Identity Crisis. And first, Jean Loring is like, we could fight. Are we both nuts? You're going to watch your wife die? And he's like, no, you don't get to be crazy this time. And he uses the powers that the Spectre just gave him.
He says you're here to suffer, you homicidal bitch. Clearly not influenced at all by the past events. Clearly, all the events before didn't unhinge Ralph anyway. He's perfectly fine. Nothing mattered before this. Ryan Dow's the expert on...
Sly. It's okay.
Dow's the expert on matters what doesn't.
It's okay. It's okay. So
you see what you unhinged Sly now, like with your event.
Yeah.
So Ralph brings Jean and brings her back to like regular, like she's Jean, and she starts to cry. She's like, "Please don't make me watch this. I was mentally ill, please." And he goes to make her watch the death of Sudibni, but as soon as she starts to die, Ralph like loses it and warps back, and he says, "I couldn't do it. You tricked me." And Spectre's like, "You didn't uphold the bargain, so fuck you. Too bad." And then Ralph's like, "I guess we have to go somewhere else because I can't live through that. It's not worth it." Mm-hmm. He says there's a better way. He's like,
he says after that's happening, Jean's just begging him to leave, and then she's like, "You can't handle it. You want to leave too." And then Ralph is crying, and he willingly teleports him before anything even happens.
Yeah, and then he's like, "The Spectre may be repugnant, but he's not a liar. He told me something crucial. She can come back. There's a better way. Take me to Nanda Parbat." So he's going to like the Tibetan magic place too. And that ends issue 27.
Yeah, so now we get to week 28. Opens with Renee and the Question go back to Gotham to try to save Kate, but then Kate shows up as Batwoman. And they showed a picture from the crime Bible saying, "You're gonna die. This is you."
Look, it's the prophecy.
And then we come back to Red Tornado.
Who's in Australia?
Another thing that Darryl said is not gonna matter whatsoever.
So far, it does not matter.
For clarification, I didn't say that this doesn't matter. I said it doesn't come up again the last time we read it. And
no, you said like I don't get what this scene's about.
But doesn't mean that it doesn't matter.
One thing, this does tie into what we were saying earlier, though, about how, like, if you were actually reading this weekly, if something doesn't show up for, like, 6 months, that is hard to see how it immediately fits into the wider tapestry. So, like, I do agree that things do pay off slowly and later, really, and I really like the slow build.
We've gotten through 3/4 of this, and some of these plot lines never do anything.
Yeah.
Like this one.
They do stuff, it's just that we can't see the broader picture of, like, how it fits into the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
Like Ralph does a lot of things,
right.
But I'm still like, I still don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
So, Red Tornado was, last time we saw, he found by Aborigines in Australia. And basically a mechanic, as part of this try, basically we built him using, like, junk parts. And now,
he looks like a toy from Sid's lab in Toy Story.
Yes.
He yells 52, 52, because he's like, read this comic, keep reading, 52.
Yes. He says meaningless statement means nothing. That's never gonna mean anything because Ambush Bug said something. I'm sorry, I'm being passive aggressive, but
it's not very passive.
So these Aborigines are having their typical story. They're having their home destroyed and replaced by
they're being
people.
sent to some like reservation.
By Ridge Ferric Company, which is who owns the warehouse that Kate Kane's people were loaning it to.
Yeah, and they're mining uranium, and they're basically like, "No, we have this other place for you to live." And they're like, "But that's where like another culture lives." And they're like, "Too bad." And when they resist, they get arrested.
The first Aboriginal guy tries to send a tornado after them, but one of the Aboriginal elders is like, "This is wrong. Like, this is not right. This robot just like saying 52. And if you want to hit somebody."
It's also the tribe talks about like some tornado spirits existing already, the tornado dreaming, and then when Red Tornado comes out, I'm like, do they know his name is Red Tornado, or do they have their own tornado lore that he's fitting into?
I don't think they never. I don't think they know it's Red Tornado.
Okay.
They just say something's wrong with what's happening here, and they arrest the mechanic that made rebuilt the Red Tornado after the Aboriginals basically turned on Red Tornado and destroy it. And he says, "You don't understand. It's alive." And Red Tornado gets taken away in junk parts, still saying 52. Yeah.
Yes.
We cut to Lobo.
Sly's favorite part, whole book. You got Lobo now.
We have a big head with horns that's green, shooting lasers. Lobo's riding a space motorcycle.
All happens is that they're being chased by the head still, so not really relevant. So we cut to Kate fighting the members of the crime family, whatever the fuck, the crime religion.
Intergang.
And all that happens is she fights a few of them.
And Mannheim is like, the prophecy is here. You're gonna die, Kane. And then it's like, oh no, the prophecy is different because the Question and Renee Montoya are here. He escapes.
They thwart it, and then he runs away. He's like, it's not supposed to be like this.
Oh yeah, and then they go and confront back in space. The group ambush the Necron head, and turns out the person piloting the Necron head is actually a Green Lantern saying, "Help me, help me."
Yeah.
And Lobo's just like, "I'm gonna kill you," and they're like, "Wait!" And they stop them, and that's when they realize it's Green Lantern in there actually.
So this Green Lantern was part of. They say that there's this like force that's going through the universe, destroying.
This is what the refugees were talking about too on Lobo's like fish planet or whatever.
Yeah, and this Green Lantern had like his main source of weaponry was like rooted into this like big head. So basically, Lobo stole the Green Lantern's weapon, and because of that, his whole like space sector was decimated.
And
because he couldn't.
what they keep
defend.
yelling about is the Stygian Passover, like the
Yeah, the thing that the people the refugees from before were yelling about.
Yeah.
So there's something's basically threatening the entire galaxy, and it's basically blocking their passage home. And Adam Strange is basically represents Darryl and Phil, saying, "No, we just need another fucking twist. Is anything gonna pay off this fucking story?" And he throws his fucking helmet away, saying, "I just want to fucking go home."
It's not enough to be 1,000 light years from home. One more thing you just don't need.
Yeah, so Adam Strange now symbolizes Darryl and Phil.
And Animal Man is saying, he says like, well, if we look at the path that it's going, like based on all this evidence, it's heading to Earth. So like we have to be the ones, like
Stop
we have
it.
to make a stand now.
Yeah,
otherwise Earth will also be destroyed.
space is really fucking big, guys. How do they know which way it's going? It's so big. Whatever, it's fine.
And to be fair, this seems like more of an actual like existential threat than just we need to hang out with Lobo.
I agree.
Then Devil Lancer the Pursuer.
This is the
What?
first
I
time.
I guess he's a threat too, but he died really quick.
No, I was being sarcastic. I agree with
He's
you.
a threat.
This is the first time I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this space story. The cover of week 29, the news sticker at the bottom says, "Egg Foo, food or menace?"
Don't be rude, Dick Fu.
Okay.
You
feel
know he
this
doesn't appreciate that.
That's who Darryl rushes to defend.
I kind of like his design.
The cover actually says last season of the GSA, and it's the original Green Lantern, the original Flash, and Wildcat together, like walking away from an empty corridor.
So we start out in New York with the JSA, and who showed up for the reunion? It was just those three that Sly just mentioned.
Yeah, and it turns out this is Thanksgiving, now during Thanksgiving, and
They used to. Yeah, he mentions, and this was a thing. This isn't just like a throwaway thing. The Justice League and the JSA used to get together and have Thanksgiving dinner every year. And it was like a nice way for like the old timers, because the JSA are all like old dudes, to like meet with like the younger people, and like it would be like a nice yearly event.
Yeah, and they're calling us just old farts. No one cares about us anymore. I mean, look at that. He points out the window, and it's all of the Lex Luthor, program people that got powers for free by him, or not for free, but Lex Luthor gave powers. And they're flying around. They're having a Thanksgiving Day parade.
And there's a lot. It's not just the team anymore. There's like
hundreds of them.
Yeah, now it's like an army of superheroes,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah.
And they're all flying around being like, I guess he gave every single one of them flight, just like real, like a real comic.
Yeah, it's like superheroes
a real
fly.
editor.
That's like a,
Yeah.
to quote Shazam, superheroes fly. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Wildcat calls them all a bunch of jerk-offs, which I like a lot.
Kids becoming superstars overnight, flying and throwing cars and making sure they're on the front page of their hometown newspapers.
And they remarked that about Green Lantern's daughter Jade being dead, and just like almost immediately after, the Lex Luthor's team introduces a new Jade, and she's like, "Hey everyone, introducing Jade. I'm replacing your dead daughter."
Yeah, and so they're showing off to the crowd. Everyone's like, "Wow, cool!" And then while they're watching this,
Some dude shows up that's all black and shadowy, and he's like, "This isn't right, Dad." And he's talking to the Green Lantern, Jay Allen.
yeah. And
That's
so
his son.
he's like, they've turned Infinity Inc. into a bastardization of it. They use my sister's name. They can't sell her name. And he jumps out the window through the glass and just starts to fight this new Jade. And then
He doesn't fight everyone, basically.
yeah,
Everyone tries to
then
defend Jade.
they go to defend her, and then it just becomes this big brawl where this guy seems pretty cool. I wish we had heroes with these kind of powers more. He like controls people's shadows or something.
Yeah, Obsidian's very cool.
He has access to a shadow dimension.
Yeah.
His name is Obsidian. He's Jade's brother, and as I mentioned, they go villainous a lot of times.
Yeah, so the new Jade, he confronts the new Jade, and he's like, "Take off that uniform. You're not Jade." And she's like, "Oh, you were her brother, right? Well, you almost sucked Milwaukee into a black hole. You're fucking crazy. Who are you telling me what to
They're
do?"
like, "Oh, obviously Obsidian is turned on again. We got to fight him."
And then old Green Lantern with
Papa
one eye,
Green Lantern
shows up, but he's like, "Let it go. We gotta."
Like this isn't what Jenny would want. Like you're saying what Jenny would want. Like
Yeah.
fucking fighting other superheroes, not what Jenny would want.
And then the other upstarts in the crowd, the superheroes are like, "Yeah, whatever, assholes. We're not taking your names to honor you or whatever. We're like the new generation. Fuck you."
Yeah,
Like you guys suck. You're a bunch of old men who got your powers gifted to you. We actually earned it. Like you guys suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wildcat mentioned earlier that, like, every time they complain about them, the media is just like, you're just a bunch of old people just trying to control the future generation and hold on to the power you have. Like, society's completely against
similar to the Teen Titans thing when Infinity Inc. confronted the Teen Titans. I really like this dynamic of where you have old superheroes that can't, like, let the new generation begin, that they're just like, they're all doing it for fame and stuff, where it's like, you guys were also, you weren't, like, immune to that either.
Yeah.
And so we cut back to Darryl's favorite subplot, the wacky scientists on their wacky island. I want to mention the defense I forgot to mention last time. Most of these characters were from comedy books. Like, Metal Man was a comedy book. Captain Marvel was a comedy book.
Are there comic characters that are funny? It's that you put them in the same book with not funny things, and it's weird.
I know, but I'm saying the mentality here. Like, if you want to do these characters, these are from a comedy series. So it's not like this is out of left field. Like, these are all comedic characters.
Sure. Yeah,
and they're all doing wacky
I'm not saying like
on site.
no. I don't think anyone was arguing these are.
I'm not saying this as to say you're wrong. I'm saying this just why the mentality probably was to put these characters together and have these wacky adventures.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are having Thanksgiving with this evil scientist. They're cutting.
I really didn't know whether or not it was this or the Lobo side plot that was really getting to me more.
They're eating pterodactyl turkey with a chainsaw. It's going around on a train around the table.
So Dr. Savant is cutting with a chainsaw like, and everyone's like, oh,
Getting turkey on them.
I do really like the idea of, if you're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner at a really big table, having it on a little railroad track so you don't have to pass it around, but it could just cruise along. I think that's a good idea. We should implement that.
I do hate this more than Lobo.
And then our one sane character, what's his name?
Yeah, Will Magnus is still trying to, like, distance himself. He's like, I don't like this at all.
And
the lady scientist, everyone's like going, ooga, hubba hubba.
She confronts him in the bathroom and is like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're different from these man boys. You're here, and you should be like."
You're taller
Yeah,
and sorry, younger, taller for a start. Here without your consent on an island populated by madmen. So she's kind of just like hitting on like her body language. She's always close to him as he's just like trying to use the bathroom.
And she's like, they never see live women except through the sights of their death rays or lenses of microscopes. And he's like, I just want to leave. And she's like, well, I built a plutonium death machine for the U.S. government.
No, she says you did that, and he's like,
you
"That was
built
when
it."
That's when I was mentally ill. That's not what I'm known for. I'm not a crook."
Right, and he's like, you're working on Project X, a mysterious project up on the hill.
Basically, yeah, and the point is to establish that, and also establish that basically, like, she's interested in him because he's like the only sane guy, but he's only sane because he's not taking his meds. Again,
No, he is taking his meds.
He's making. I'm sorry, and that's important because next scene is Egg Fu shows up,
Cheng Su.
Shang Tzu, and they're like,
How
"Who
dare
called
you."
me?"
We can't stress he is a giant egg.
Yeah. He's like, who called me Egg Fu? Who called you? And he goes around and behind saying, "You call me Egg Fu? You think it's funny, motherfucker, huh?" And the guy starts snorting, and he Egg Fu annihilates
But he's
him.
just like, why wasn't I invited to dinner?
It's like that scene in Monty Python with Biggest Dickus, and the guy's trying not to laugh.
So this really is like Venture Brothers before Venture Brothers existed.
Yeah.
Like it really is just straight up like goofy, like henchman laughing, mad villain being like, "Who's laughing? Who the fuck's laughing at me?" And mad scientist cutting the turkey up with a chainsaw.
So Egg Fu points at Will Magnus and is like, "Hey, you! Why is your progress going so slowly? You haven't done anything. Professor Morrow vouched for you, and you're only alive because of him." And then the girl is like, "Oh, Chung Su, he's actually using medication to suppress his manic depressive tendencies, and his best work was when he was manic." And so Egg Fu's like, "Perfect, get rid of the medicine."
And this is not like perfect. Oh, we solved it. Dr. Magnus is like, "You sold me out. Like I'm your friend. Like why would you do this to me?" And Tiyomaru's like, "I am a evil mad genius." After all, he starts sipping his wine like casually, like nothing bothers him. While Will gets literally dragged away by the guards.
And then the girl says, "Let's all give thanks on this Thanksgiving to Intergang and the glorious dawn of the global crime state."
And this is why I will defend the story because Will Magnus is my favorite subplot in the story.
Yeah.
And he carries, like, for all the goofiness in the story, I do care about what happens to Will.
I do care about what
me
happens
too.
to him too.
One thing I want to point out: Venture Brothers debuted 3 years before this.
Oh, okay, but it's the same kind of.
But yeah, and
before
this
it was like
is a knockoff. This is a ripoff.
I don't want to get the angry letters from all our adamant Venture Brothers fans.
But this is more ubiquitous now than it was when this came out. when it
Yes,
came out.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, back to the JSA. They're like, well, that's it. I guess we have to fuck off now. And Flash invites Wildcat to Thanksgiving dinner with his family. He's like, nah, I got plans. And his plans are to just get drunk in the JSA headquarters.
I love that touch.
By
Because
himself.
it's like all these old men are like, oh, we're so much better. And then this guy's just getting drunk alone. It's like, are you so much better?
This is one thing that I really love about the way 52 handles a lot of this stuff is like Wildcat has not been in this book at all, and he doesn't become like a major character here, but in just this like 1 or 2 issues, we kind of get a really good feel for what kind of guy he is. He's yelling out the window that all these like hip teens are a bunch of jerk-offs. We see him drinking alone in the JSA headquarters,
Yeah.
and like I after I read 52 got really into the JSA, and like Wildcat's one of my favorite characters, but like you don't need to know anything about him. You get like a real sense, like you just said, Darryl, for his character right away.
Lastly, it ends with team investigate Lex Luthor back in Metropolis with some of the Teen Titans and one of the Everyman Project Lex Luthor guys, and then John Henry Irons. And the Doctor is like, "Hey, where's John?" And he's like, "I'm not feeling well." And in his office or his bedroom, his metal is peeling off. And then she's like, what's going on?" And he said, "There's no reverse therapy. There's an expiration date, so the powers are eventually going to go away."
Yep.
I just want to, as we get to week 30, I just want to quickly say I was wrong. Batman does show up in the story, but it's not really about Batman. It's more how Robin and Nightwing perceive Batman in the story.
Yes. So this is week 29.
Week
No,
30.
Week 30.
I just said week 30.
Sorry, you're right. You're right. Week 30.
Now we're time traveling.
I know. The Batman issue.
And it starts with the narration. Everything started out so well. And it's Batman fighting a bunch of guys. And this is basically Dick looking back and being
Who are you calling
like,
a dick?
What?
Who are you calling a dick?
He's just looking back fondly on like how those were pretty cold for years in Gotham when it seemed like anything could happen. It was our town. It's basically like how fun Batman, you were fighting him in the beginning. The Joker gave up being a murderer for a while, and he was just a crazy
They're talking
clown.
about like the campy 60s.
Because when Batman first started out, he was really, really dark. Like, he killed the Joker, like, in one of the earlier paintings of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, basically, it slowly transitioned into the campy 60s Adam West Batman over time. And they like never really acknowledged why it was, but in retrospect, they're just like, eventually everyone just took things more lightly, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then everything started to eventually crumble bit by bit. Nobody noticed at first he's the Batman, scariest guy on the planet. And then Dick leaves, and then you have Jason Todd stealing tires.
It's a quick montage of books that we've covered more than half of.
Yeah.
So you got Death in the
know,
Family,
that's it,
The
yeah.
Killing Joke. Then you have Nightfall and No Man's Land, which we haven't done, and Under the Red Hood. But then Identity Crisis and Infinite Crisis.
Yep.
Look at that. You guys are true fans.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got the
Well, you have
montage.
to like those books, I think, to be a fan of that.
That's true. So at the end, he lost it. And then it's Nightwing's hanging out with, who is this Robin?
It's Tim Drake.
Tim Drake.
Drake,
Tim Drake.
okay.
He replaced Jason.
I'm
right
sorry,
after-
everyone
Jason
has the same hair and face.
I had
like,
no idea.
especially
That's
the
true.
Robins.
If you told me these are clones, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense.
That is, I 100% agree with you. As a fan, I always found annoying that they had black-haired boys. As
Jason
Robin
Todd was
for so-
originally a ginger, and Grant Morrison brought that back. Just for what it's worth, that's Robin.
Jason Todd should see a fucking ginger.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, so they're fighting these guys somewhere.
Who cares?
I hate all of
This matters,
narration.
Darryl. This fucking matters. Where are they fighting them?
So then we come back to Gotham City.
But you know, yeah. So they're just fighting a bunch of terrorists, basically.
yeah, and
They're recapping, but they're basically, it seems like Batman's recapping his steps, and they're just like trying to keep up. That's like the vibe that I got.
Yeah, and they think Batman is like insane now. Like, they're like,
Yeah.
then it cuts back to Gotham City, and it says, "I hate all of this" in the narration box, and it's from.
So now Renee is imitating Darryl.
Yeah.
So.
Except she says, "I hate that cancer's eating Charlie alive," and she's there. She's with Kate, her ex-girlfriend, and they're having someone come over to check out Charlie every day, and they start arguing about all this.
And Renee is slipping back into her own habits where she's like worried about Charlie, so she projects it as like being jealous of like, how'd you get this doctor to come over? You sleeping with her?
Yep.
And Kate's like, Renee, that's not like, I know what you're doing. Stop trying to push me away.
Yep.
And the doctor suggests you should put him into a hospital. And Renee's like, why? So he could check in and never come out? And he's like, he'll be more comfortable. And that's when Kate's like, we're just trying to help. And she's like, fine.
And then she goes to, after Kate leaves, she goes to Charlie, and she's like, mind if I sit with you for a while? And Charlie's like, I'm not very chatty, but she's like, it's okay. Night Eater, and she starts meditating.
She does the going inside thing.
Yep, and in the background it shows Charlie Langford smiling.
Yeah, it's one of the nicest scenes of this book so far.
It's one of the, this is actually definitely probably my favorite subplot of this whole book. I really like their dynamic.
I think it is mine too.
And one of the best things too is you don't need to know the question, like you immediately get their relationship. Whereas like a lot of this other stuff is like just random characters showing up and stuff. But I like how grounded their stuff feels compared to some of the other things. So then Nightwing and Tim Drake Robin are still looking for the Batman.
And they're solving more terrorist cases as they're going along, basically.
Yeah.
Yep, and they're looking for Bruce Wayne. It cuts to Bruce Wayne in the desert. And he sees these guys with eyeballs on their fingertips.
The thing that you missed is Nightwing is interrogating the terrorists, and they're shipping a bunch of like huge doomsday weapons to Gotham City.
It's for Intergang.
It's Intergang.
And they split up. Nightwing's going to Gotham. Robin's going after Bruce.
Yeah.
And then Bruce is over here. We can't tell if he's hallucinating or not, but he's fighting these 10-eyed surgeon dudes of the empty quarter who have come to slice out his demons.
So they're like guys in like Arabic, garb, and then they have fingers on their not fingers on their eyes. They have eyes on their fingers.
Fingers on their eyes.
Find the demon and cut, they say as they're all attacking him. Defeat me or die.
So this is a guy Morrissey bringing back a Silver Age character. There's a villain that had eyes on his fingers in the Silver Age, and Grant Morrison's like, what if they were a secret society of guys with eyes on their fingers?
Yeah, this is every time a character shows up that looks kind of dumb, and I have no idea what their purpose is. I just like, it's Grant Morrison. He's bringing them back just to be like, I'm gonna add some depth to them. That
My
no
question
one
is,
thought of.
does he remember all these characters, or does when he's like, I need a character, does he go to like an encyclopedia of comic book characters that never got used again, and is he like, this guy will be?
They did that. When you work for DC, you do have access to entire DC archives. Like
Also, not to be that guy, but Mark Waid in the back says Grant Morrison brought back this fucking guy that I can't believe anyone other than me remembers, and he's like, I still remember his name is Phil Reardon, the 10-eyed man. So I think that a lot of these writers are just these like big Silver Age fanboys that are like, finally, that guy that I remember from when I was 12.
I can see that.
Cool.
Like you're like, this guy's so cool. Why did he never come back?
Yeah.
I do think for this concept, I think this is the best way you could have done it, because now they're like the mysterious, like they're kind of like the League of Shadows and with like mystical kind of thing, and apparently they purge your soul of your sins. And
So Robin comes back and he says, Bruce, you look like you need a hand, and then Batman's like, 10-eyed men kill demons, Tim. I asked them to kill mine. It's over. Batman is gone. And then we cut to Batwoman, and she's fighting.
Oh, yeah, and also, and like they mentioned before, you can't tell. Everything's in like weird red tint, so you can't tell if Batman's just hallucinating him this, and he's just crazy, like Robin suspects.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we come back to Batwoman, and she's fighting Intergang again.
You can always tell it's Intergang because they're fighting like werewolves.
Animals, yeah. It's big snake men, werewolves.
And this is where Nightwing shows up, and
It just hits on her the whole time.
Yeah. What can I say? I've got a thing for redhead.
are you going to lend a hand, or are you just going to play an eyeful? And Nightwing's like, I have to admit, it is quite an eyeful. And she's like, trust me, I'm not your type.
Well, it's just Nightwing's whole stuff is so funny here because not to get a little ahead, but he also like he hits on her the whole time and also like keeps trying to like tell her Merry Christmas, and she's a lesbian and Jewish. And I think Nightwing's just like the totally clueless guy that's just like, I know what she likes.
He's like, I would have hit on Batman, but now I'm Batwoman.
Nightwing's just trying to be friendly, and it makes sense he'd be friendly in this way. It's just ironic.
He's being flirty.
Yeah, he's being flirty.
Yeah.
He's being flirty, but I think he is generally being.
He strikes me as a boy that hasn't been turned down a lot in his life.
He's a very handsome man.
I mean, I think in canon, Nightwing has the best ass of the DC universe, so like I get it.
Yeah, he's not like really forceful. He's just like he's flirting the whole time.
It's unwelcome.
But I don't interpret it as him just trying to get some ass. I interpreted him as him trying to welcome her into the Bat family, basically.
And I interpret it as him harassing her on the job.
I never saw. Maybe it's because I know Dick well enough that I'll never see him as a guy.
Oh, so you're saying because you've never seen him harass somebody, he can't?
It's not. He's just like joking around. So like, look at that ass.
Don't dig this grave slide.
I don't see myself digging a great fucking guys. Like
I think a lot of it is played for laughs too, because like we as the audience know that like how up the wrong tree he is with all of his actions throughout this whole volume. But it's okay to have different interpretations. That's what we do. We're divisive issues, right? We're not the agreement podcast, right, Sly?
All right, it's 31, please.
Oh man, I don't even know what's going on here.
It's the destruction of the world
Yeah.
by this thing.
So week 31, we start with this this is such a Grant Morrison thing. There's this planet with like their own version of Superman that has telethoughts or whatever. His name's Adam Blake, and it's just like some space planet.
Adam Blake.
Yeah, I think Captain Comet. That
Yeah.
sounds like somebody that exists
I think it is
already.
Captain Comet.
And it's like this whole thing of him fighting this like invasion that we've seen hinted at so far.
You can see like the planet in orbit is just like a million spaceships that look evil. The planet's being destroyed. There's people like getting shot, and this Captain Comet is trying to hold them back. And he's like, "Run! I'll hold them. I'll stop them."
Yeah, and we see this this woman who was like a bystander getting pulled away, and then she's actually explaining what happened to two Green Lanterns, a little bug guy and some like handsome looking blonde guy, and they call it in to like their bosses, the Guardians, and the Guardians are like, there is no known classification for this threat. Like, you should probably just evacuate and get all the Green Lanterns out. And the Green Lanterns like, wow, they're afraid. I've never heard that before. And then we see like a montage of all these different superheroes from all these different planets getting like dissected and harvested and all for...
You forget too that he talks about what happens through the planets, and they have giant white cubes that drop on the ground. I'm like, hell yeah, this is my kind of
Yeah,
sci-fi.
this is when I was like,
Yeah.
this plot is really cool. Wait, Intergang can just leave the story. I do not care about
forever.
them.
Goodbye.
Wow, it is such a fine line for you guys.
The story does nothing for me. It has to just eradicate. You can never go halfway. You have to be like,
No, guess
stop
what?
writing, you writers. Stop it. Stop writing.
No, it's not about writing.
Do I like 100%
Hey,
or fuck
let me
off.
say what's interesting about this. The entire time, Captain Comet's thoughts are being narrated to us because he sent out them 5 light years away through his telepathy, right? And so we're getting this narration of the destruction of his world. And unlike the Crime Bible, which I'm like is silly, this is some kind of horde that is harvesting the biomass of different lands they inhabit. That is cool. That is something that an alien race would do.
That's what we call sci-fi. And
Yeah.
That's Phil's fetish.
Ironically, this is stuff that doesn't really matter to the overall plot.
Fuck you,
as
Sly.
far as we
But
can tell. As far as we can tell.
Sly, to use you as an example, I'm in the middle, to peek back the curtain, I'm in the middle of editing episode 2 of our 52 saga, and you had a really valid point about how you felt like the space stuff wasn't wacky enough
Yeah.
to be, like, really engaging, and I think this is where it kind of tips that needle into, like, there's some batshit crazy stuff going
Yeah,
on.
I like this part, but I just find it funny that you're saying if it's it doesn't matter, skip it. But now I'm like, from what I could tell because I don't remember, this seems like it doesn't matter. But you guys are like, wow.
Wait,
it's
okay, are you
interesting.
telling
Like,
me aliens harvesting the universe is not cool or important, but the Crime Bible is important?
I'm not saying it's important. I'm just saying like, you're always like, oh, if it's not important, it shouldn't be in the story. Like
I don't know. I think when
I
Phil-
like what you like. Ryan suggests like you're very hot and cold. Like it's fun to exercise it. Writers can't experiment at all. Either pick it 100% or just exercise from the story. Like we can't have explore multiple weird concepts. It has to be everything's good or just told stories like going in the wrong direction.
I think for me, the difference with sci-fi is like I can imagine an alien race harvesting.
my problem is not what do you like or not. My problem is your attitude. Like every story has to appeal to me at all times. We
I don't
can't
know.
say-
I don't like to look a gift horse in the mouth, and when Phil and Darryl are like, I like this comic book, I'm like, okay.
I know, but then I know it's tenuous. As soon as anything dumb happens, like okay, defense now slide, you fucking dumb story, haha.
Okay, so let's see if that happens. And let's see if Sly has a prophecy, just like the Crime Bible. And so they're harvesting all these superheroes, and they keep saying, and all of the people doing it keep saying, believe in her, believe in her. And they're talking about someone called the Lady Styx, spelled like the river Styx, Styx, or the band, probably more the river. But then it cuts back to
Also, a hint back to when the refugees are talking about the Stygian Passover, because Stygian refers to
Styx,
Yeah,
the
river
river
Styx. So when they're like Stygian Passover, I'm like,
Yeah,
this
that's
is what
what-
it's related to.
I didn't know that. So now we cut back to Infinity Inc., where one of the new members, the new white Caucasian member who replaced, this is now Jade, who replaced the speedster who died, is kind of creeped out by the shapeshifter Everyman because he keeps like sneaking into a room, and then Skyman, who is Natasha's boyfriend, reveals that it's because for him to shapeshift, he has to like eat something, so he like finds like animal hair and like other team members' hair and like
Yeah, or like toenail clippings, and then he
Yeah.
So
and-
Skyman makes that joke. He's like, maybe he was scrounging for toenail clippings or hair, and then she's like, oh, I gotta go. And he's like, Natasha's like, come on, it's not funny. And he's like, I'm sorry, it was a bad joke. And he kisses her, and then she leaves, and he's transforms into Everyman. He's like, I'll look forward to catching up with you later.
Yeah.
I was like,
So-
oh,
He looks so
no.
much like Lex Luthor.
Yeah, at first I thought he was Lex Luthor, and I'm like, I don't remember this at all.
I I find it interesting because it makes you think it's like so for a second, for a while at least.
I feel like that's a cool like throwing a wrench into the subplot of the thing, because so far only Lex has been the bad guy of Infinity Inc. But now it's like, of course, like naturally some bad eggs would slip in there and get
the one who happens to look exactly like Lex.
And it makes sense because like if his powers work up in a fucked up way, it makes sense a fucked up person will have those powers.
Yeah,
like his powers work by eating parts of people.
Why did he get flying and laser powers like every other person on this team?
Because he secretly loves to eat toenails.
Yeah,
This
there
is
you
his
go.
dream.
Okay.
So then it cuts to the memorial from the very beginning of Superman and Superboy, and Wonder Girl is there, and Ralph Dibny shows up, and from this point on, he's like really drinking out of his flask a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much in every scene, he's like spilling it on himself. And
He also,
whatever.
this is a clever little thing. The Dr. Fate helmet shows up and she screams and it goes, "Sorry, my bodyguard likes to make an entrance." But the tip of the helmet's off panel, so you don't know whether or not he held it in front of her to scare her, or it was actually floating in front of her. So you still don't know whether or not Dr. Fate is within his mind or a real thing, phenomenon.
So basically they talk a lot, they recap a little bit about like the cult and everything, and she says that, you know, she did some digging and found some evidence that the leader of that cult of Connor was a scam. And
She didn't just do some
got,
digging. She got a package in the mail that was like,
Yeah.
look, he's a scam.
and the package was sent from Marseille, which is where Ralph Dibny was, so he's the one who sent the package.
Chimamali, it's Marseille. Ryan, fuck you.
Oh, sorry. See, I only know how to read. I don't know how to
It's
talk.
okay. Me and you both, buddy.
Apparently, the only thing you know how to pronounce properly is writers' names. I can't do that.
Oh yeah. So then they talk a little, and Ralph says, you know, my wife did live, and she's like, oh, I know the cult was legitimate, even if that guy was a liar. So like we do believe resurrection's possible. I know because Supernova is Superboy. And Ralph's like, that's great, Cassie.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then he
Yeah.
just leaves.
There's one tell her, "You're crazy, bitch."
And he meets with Supernova, and he's like, I know who you are. You know, she thinks you're Superboy. And Supernova's like, I know. I should probably talk to her.
No,
But-
Ralph was like, "You talk to her," but he's like, "I really I can't compromise identity. Please
Oh,
don't tell
yeah,
you.
you're right.
Please don't tell anyone you know who I am. I know your genius attack to figure out like in 5 seconds, but I really need to keep the secret."
And he says, what I like is about this, because this is one of the big things I was like, who is Supernova? And Ralph mentions that the clues were there, that the powers threw me. When I saw them used from the proper angle, I sussed out that one device that could tie them together. I was like, what is, like, I was just trying to really figure out, it's like, do we have the evidence necessary, or is this going to be like some crazy, like, C-lister dude from nowhere?
I also like how it only took Ralph like a few days of thinking about it because he didn't.
I mean, Supernova has been here for weeks and weeks.
I know, but Ralph didn't put any thoughts to it. He's like, Supernova. Oh, now I know he is now. Like he, because Ralph wasn't like really like he was like in other dimensions at this
Yeah,
point.
he was
like,
stuck in
puts-
hell.
So like Ralph only needs a few minutes, like a few days of thinking to figure it out.
Yeah, but one of the benefits of having a book be in real time and like slow paced is
I'm not saying to mock. I'm saying
Yeah.
I find it cool about Ralph. Like the
No,
story.
yeah,
is, like,
I know,
the
but
story-
it's like
yeah.
there's enough vagueness to it, I think, that like you could say that he took a little while or he took it really quickly if you want him to be like the super detective or just like a good detective, you know what I mean? Like it's not like he isn't like I solved it in 4 minutes like a Millar super genius would.
Oh yeah. The time gap makes it so believable that you'll take him a while.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I believe that Ralph had figured it out.
Yeah.
Legit. And then we cut back to Alien Planet with these giant cubes and all these aliens harvesting all these people and the poor little bug.
Yeah, one of the Green Lanterns is already dead, and the other one is like, we need backup, and the Guardians...
They're like, no,
Sorry,
request
They
denied with
quarantine it
honors.
and turn his ring off.
Yeah, they turn his ring off because they're like, they might somehow infect the Green Lantern power
We
supply.
gotta contain this contamination, basically.
Yeah,
so you're being
yeah,
cut off.
So...
And she's like, Adam Blake will save us. And then her brainwashed, like, to be
Boyfriend.
wed husband
Yeah.
shows up. And she's like, and he just, like, starts, like, cutting her apart. And they're like, believe in her, believe in her. And then we see Adam Blake, the, like, Superman of this world, just, like, stuck to a ship all, like,
His skin's
totally
been ripped off because his
mangled and-
muscles are exposed.
It's
Yeah.
Really
And-
grim.
And we see
Yeah.
from the boyfriend coming back, because he actually came up earlier, we see that somehow once they killed people, they turn them into, like, zombies or
Yeah.
brainwashed people or something.
So then it cuts to Lady Styx, who's just this big, like, creepy spider alien type woman, and the girl who we've been following gives the 2 Green Lantern rings to Lady Styx, and she eats them.
Yeah. And Lobo's watching far away with goggles, saying, "Behold, Lady Styx."
And Owlman's just like, ah, fuck.
Yeah. So week 32, it opens with Ralph. Now he's near that
Nanda
place.
Parbat.
Nanda Parbat. He gets attacked by Wendigo. And then
This isn't Wendigo. That's a Marvel character. This is one of the
Wendigo.
Great 10. One of the.
Wow.
This is one of the.
This guy came first.
Yeah. No. This is one of the Chinese heroes that we saw at the very beginning.
Yeah, it turns
Part
out
of
to
the
be
Great
Ralph
10.
doesn't know that. So basically, it causes an avalanche. A whistle rings out, causes an avalanche, and it traps the Wendigo and saves Ralph. And turns out one of the Chinese heroes has a power. But basically, his power is to make music to destroy things. Basically,
Not just he uses music to like alter the frequencies of reality. I think it's such a cool
Yeah,
concept.
it's a really cool idea.
that's why I love when Grant Morrison comes up with like crazy concepts like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what he does best. So cut back to the
Teen
well,
Titans
not back to-
Tower.
the Titans Tower for the first time, and now everyone's like massing there.
It's like all of these like the Z-est of Z-listers.
Yeah, they're trying to get more members and basically doing a recruiting drive. And Osiris shows up. Black
He's
Adam
he's like the Black Adam Jr.
Jr. basically, and he brings his filler sidekick that Darryl hates.
Yep.
And it's funny because I've interpreted this as him trying to get his own lion in a suit.
That's what I thought it
Goofy
was,
sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and now he's like the.
He's Sobek, the crocodile or whichever. I don't remember if he's an alligator or a crocodile.
Yeah, Sarbeck is like this cowardly, like, ooh, what are we gonna do here, Scoops? And so Cyrus flies him there, and Sarbeck is scared about flying,
Sobek.
and now he's scared of everyone because everyone's supposed to be scared of him.
And every time he's drawn, he's like cowering behind Osiris.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cute.
It's Scooby Doo next to like Fred, basically.
Yeah.
And it turns out Lizard's scared because everyone else is scared of him,
And Osiris is here to join the Teen Titans.
Yeah, and that's what he knows is that everyone's scared of him and Osiris. And Osiris is like, why? I want to join Titans. And Captain Marvel Jr. is like, get the fuck out.
He said Black Adam, the father of family, ripped a man in half on live television. A man that deserved it.
Yeah, so they're like, no one likes Black Adam, so we don't like you by extension.
And Osiris is like, we've built hospitals for every village in this like third world country. We've been planting gardens. We're only trying to make this world a better place.
And Captain Marvel was like, convince the rest of the world of that, and I'll help you join the Teen Titans.
And Raven, who's the empath, picks up only one emotion from Osiris: hope.
Is this guy Captain Marvel? Or is this guy
Captain
Freddy?
Marvel Jr. Yeah.
Captain
This
Marvel
is
Jr.
Freddy.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
This is Freddie Freeman.
Okay.
Freddie Freeman's always blue.
Okay.
He's always sad.
I didn't know whether or not we had passed the mantle again off screen
No.
or something.
No.
No, this covers every event that happens during this year. There's no tie-ins. That's why editorial hated this book because there was not a
They
million.
couldn't
tie-ins.
capitalize off of it.
Yes, exactly.
There's technically one tie-in that happens at the very, very end, but it's completely unnecessary, and we'll get to that next.
Okay.
That tie-in also happens because this book started doing its own stories rather than trying to set up the status quo for the 1 year later books.
Yeah,
Like
so a
it-
lot of the bullshit is dumped into that book
Yeah.
instead of in here. This is why I always like hesitate to call it an event because it's just so standalone. Yeah.
Phil said he hates events. Like, this is not an event. But you might say you hate events with a lot of characters coming in, but this is not an event book.
Yeah. It's not an event in the way we think of it.
Infinite Crisis is how you should imagine events to be. Infinite Crisis. Nothing's. I know what's happening. This book is to that book. This character comes to this. Nothing makes sense. That's an event.
And that's one thing that I love
Perfect.
about 52 is there's no like gotta read this book.
Great
It's
meeting.
just like here you go.
All right, so we come back to space, and they're debating.
There's just like
whether they
destroyed
should-
fleets everywhere. Like obviously the horde is not being stopped.
Yeah, it's like how do you fight them? There are millions of them.
I'm trying to make this argument, but Adam Adams is like, my family's home. Starfire's like, my friends are on Earth. We have to make the stand here.
We have to stop millions by me being like an animal. Like, good work. Good luck.
Hey, don't disparage Animal Man.
But that's why they're heroes. Fuck you, Phil. Like, Phil's like, let's just give up beforehand. Like, heroes never prosper fight events. Like, let's let our friends die. That's.
I mean, I think that this plays out pretty well, which we'll talk about in a sec. But he does say like, no matter how many there are, no matter what it takes, we're the front line. We have to try.
yeah, like Phil's like, heroes should just give up and die.
Not give up and
Like,
die, but maybe like go meet other heroes and like make an army. Like
Keep in mind, you just said space is so big.
it is.
Yeah.
Where
It is.
they don't even know.
To be fair, Adam Strange is like Phil, and he's like, so let me get this straight. It's us against a genocidal alien war machine. We have a bounty on our heads, and we have Lobo and the Emerald Head of Ikron on our side.
But that makes sense because Adam Strange was more like a sci-fi pulp hero than a superhero. So it makes sense that he's the one that's more rational, like what a human being will do.
Yeah.
While Buddy and
Animal Man's like, I have the animal of a flying dolphin, so I can fly now in space.
you like anime. You don't find anything admirable about like, we got to do anything.
No,
we
I
can.
do. I appreciate it. I'm just like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they're not gonna win, obviously.
So we cut to Panda Bar. I keep forgetting his name.
Nanda Parbat.
I'm not gonna remember that name, but that place in the Himalayas. Ralph is now there being taken care of. The Whistle Man explains his powers and what he did. He reveals that the Wendigo basically stopped using the
Accomplished perfect physician is his name.
Yes. So the Wendigo basically stopped using the medallion to keep his powers in check. Basically, just want to be Wendigo for life. And he takes Adam to the place at the top where. Well, first
So
he takes
he's supposed to see Ramakrishna,
Wait.
who like they.
Yeah, I was confused at where we were going with.
Yeah, so there's like this legend that the like Nanda Parbat god manifests to pilgrims who climb the 9,999 stairs and answer their questions about death and dying and the dead. Ramakrishna. So it's like one of those like we see this in Doctor Strange. We see it in Ace Ventura, for Christ's sake. Like that legend of just like you climb these many stairs and you are enlightened by the Himalayan gods.
Yeah, I'm sorry to jump around, but the reason why they go after the Wendigo dude is because Ramakrishna won't see Ralph until he basically like proves himself to her.
Yeah.
And he does that by risking his life to capture the Wendigo guy.
Yeah.
And putting the medallion on him. It's not Nanda Parbat. I'm not gonna remember.
Nanda Parbat.
And one thing that I really like about this is Morrison puts in a lot of little things that, like, this guy's backstory. He was a member of the Red Army. He was witness to atrocity. He was a killer. This is the doctor talking. Until I came to accept the office and responsibilities of the accomplished perfect physician. And then later on, when they save, like, the werewolf Yeti guy, he's like, they wanted me to have no conscience, like an animal, no guilt, a soldier. And it shows, like, if the Chinese government created these superheroes, where would they get them from? Probably from these kind of places. And like just in a couple panels, Morrison gives this like very different look at what superheroes would be like in a different culture.
And this is why I like the shared universe, and this is why when Darryl's like, oh my god, Chinese heroes, this book of shit. I like that it sets up problems in this world or situations that probably could be addressed later on, like questions. Basically, like, it's not just everything is just assuming, like,
because the Great Ten are then used after 52 in other books as well to talk about geopolitical conflicts and stuff like that.
There's more to explore of this world. Like, questions are being brought up, and I want to see some of them get brought up later.
I like this angle that's been added to the Chinese superhero thing. It's just like I didn't get a lot of that. I felt other than like what the superhero powers were. I like this angle where it's like, what would a Chinese superhero entail, rather than just like, look at these powers and look how crazy they are.
I think this is portrayed better than when they first
Hashtag Free Tibet. This is what it's about. They're taking over the Himalayas. I also did like how when he's like, you're a superhero, and he's like, I'm not a superhero, I'm a super functionary. Like, I'm a servant of the people.
Yeah.
In the language of like the Chinese government, it's like everyone is a servant.
And whenever Morrison creates other country superheroes, he always uses these really weird phrases like accomplished perfect physician. And I always take that as, because he's done this like lots and lots of times, I always take that as translation errors. Like, not errors, but like that they would have names like Superman or like, you know, things that are more common phrases for us, but in their language doesn't always translate to just like cool superhero.
It's the same way
I like that a
Kung Fu
lot.
movies always have weird like names for stuff.
That's true.
But it's like it's because the names for things are longer if you translate them into English, but it makes sense in a smaller phrase in Chinese.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Ralph goes to see Ramakrishna. It seems like there's no one there, but the servant says everything is Ramakrishna here, and it's a place full of candles. So the room lights up, and a woman's face like appears like ethereally
on like a mural, like a fresco type of deal. And she mentions, "Here's the secret: there is no death. Death is an illusion of being in time, a trick of light."
And Ralph says, "So why does it hurt so much? Her head
crying
on my chest in the morning, with my arm going numb underneath for the way she stacked the fridge, the way she would laugh when I made some stupid joke. Why does it hurt so much?" And like, if it's all just an illusion, she's like, "No love is wasted." And the Ramakrishna is like, "No love is wasted. No love is lost in time." And she's like, "So why can't I talk to her? Why?" And Ramakrishna says, "You wish to be with her again. Come closer. I will show you how." But then she fades away as Ralph comes closer.
And then the guy asks, "Did you see?"
Yeah, he's like, "I don't know. I heard women's telling me things I already knew." the end's already written, and they got the superior other guy's like, they call me cryptic.
When he says, and if the end is written, who was the writer? Mr. Dimney says it was me back in May at the end of the crisis in the Ambassador Hotel, which is when like this whole thing started.
Yeah, so he's like, be careful, Faye, be careful what you wish for. So he basically saying, I'm going to write my ending, and basically I'm going to shoot myself again. Like, now Ralph is like, I guess I got to kill myself to see my wife again.
I love this scene a lot.
The Ramakushin one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the whole, like, just when he's just saying, like, because, like, his ideas of love are not, they're, like, very real, of just, like, her head on my chest in the morning, my arm
It's
going
the
numb,
mundane.
the way she stacked the fridge. It's the mundane. And that gets me fucking every single time.
Week 33. So we start off with the Flash Museum. Ralph Dibny is there, and he's in the Elongated Man room of the Flash Museum. And he's talking about, because it's like Christmas time now, and he's talking about how the best Christmas present the Flash ever got him was a time travel trip for him, where he got to go hang out with Edgar Allan Poe to catch Jack the Ripper. And he's like, he was a real friend. And, you know, if he were still alive, there would be a whole wing for the Elongated Man, not just this little closet.
And Dr. Fate's like, you're drunk.
And he's like, I
He says
donated...
intoxication will interfere with the gateway spells.
Yeah.
And he's like, I donated all of Sue's stuff here. Wish a little less of it were in storage, but I found what I was looking for, and it's in his...
He's got the gun, the case file gun in his pocket now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we go back to Gotham, and Alfred is singing with Christmas carols with the children, and Batwoman's watching. Nightwing shows up, and he's like, "Hey, Merry Christmas for the bat who has everything."
Nightwing becomes problematic again. He gives her a Christmas present to a Jewish woman.
And he gives her a batarang, and she's like, "Great, a batarang." And he's like, "This isn't like your batarang that you make by yourself. This is a real batarang." And he goes on about...
He mansplains.
I was
what
the
it's
exact
like
same
to
joke.
have
He
gadgets.
mansplains what battering is to Batwoman. But no, he's like this official one. Like it comes back to you. Like this is like Batman spends like
unbreakable, laser, never loses its edge, perfectly balanced.
Perfect edgelord. It's never loses edge.
And she's like, "Cool, thanks."
Yeah, she smiles.
Yeah, it's like it seems like she was generally appreciative of this.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Then, back in Metropolis, there's apparently one of the kids who they were going to use the Lex Luthor Everyman Project thing on. He had some kind of genetic fluke where he went into a coma and he's probably going to die. And Lex is like, okay, just fly in his family, tell them they're in our prayers, whatever. I don't really care. And then he buys all of the...
That's not Phil. Luthor makes
I
it.
know.
Oh, yeah. Luther
Man,
doesn't care.
me-
I
me-
care. I care.
me-
I
me-
care
me-
about Luis Dominero. Don't die.
Not about that fucking character, but like the subplot. Like things are
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
I care about...
No, it's just like even before Darryl was like, I hate all of this, and he was reading a narration, and I didn't realize until later on.
Yeah.
This is my favorite subplot, actually, is the Lex Natasha stuff. So I was very interested in this.
Look, we all got different tastes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, what's Ryan's favorite subplot?
Ralph Dibny.
It's probably the question stuff, but Ralph is I think a close second.
Oh, yeah, Ralph's my second favorite.
Okay, so the Lex bought all of the Infinity Inc. teenagers these like $500,000 cars, and they're like, "Yeah, cool." And he's like, I actually bought Fifth Avenue for an hour, so you guys can just race the cars. And if you,
He probably bought it from Jared Kushner. That's when he went bankrupt, right, guys? Boom.
and he says, if you'd like to say anything or perhaps present, and they all just push him out of the way. And I'm like, they are pretty like. I hate
they're
Lex
brats.
Luthor, but they are brats. Like, not even a thank you, not one.
doesn't deserve
Steele's niece, the only one that's actually any way respectful towards Lex himself.
And that's why, even though we were saying earlier, like, Darryl's like, obviously, like, the old farts are like, fuck these kids. I'm like, they have a point where they're like, we got into this job because we were gifted a power, like, this is our responsibility, where they're like, I can pay and become famous to, you know what I mean? Like
the fact that the older superheroes have to learn responsibility because it stumbles upon them. Whereas
Right.
here, they're pursuing like basically superpowers.
they go to Walmart and they're like, can I have superpowers?
Yeah.
And Walmart's
Can
like,
I have flying? We have a sale on flying and
they're-
lasers.
They're Spider-Man before Uncle Ben dies. Like that's
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
and I think the thing that I really really love about the subplot is it's not like, because a lot of times the writer makes it so clear which side they're on, and I get both of their points really well.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
established
This is
superheroes
what
and these kids.
this is why this is storytelling I like. Like that's why I was defending Nightwing stuff, not because I'm like Nightwing is 100% right for flirting on her, because reality, not everyone's like an angel or a saint. Like people do like awkward stuff sometimes, and people can be right and still be brats. Like these kids are right, but they're brats. Anyway.
Yeah.
And so Lex gets another message from his right-hand woman, and she's like, it's a report that his viability for the Everyman Project is negative again.
Lex's.
And she's like, what do you want for Christmas? And he's like, a more talented research team. I want a little sign from the universe that that I spent all this time improving it, and for once I might actually be rewarded. Just one sign. And then the doctor comes in from before, who was like, that kid's dying, and he's like, great news. The kid's not gonna die. He has a gene that is letting him adapt to the Everyman process. It's a miracle.
So it was like, he's not gonna die. Let me stop you right there. He's gonna die, and you're gonna use his corpse to autopsy how this happens.
Yep.
Reversal.
He's like, that's wonderful. And he's like, the way he's described, he's like, no, you're gonna spinal drain him, organ harvest. You're gonna tell his family he's dead. You're gonna draft an obituary tonight. And he's like,
and compensate his parents for their tragic loss.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dennis, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Then we go back to the question and Renee. It's Hanukkah's last day. Kate, there's just some backstory about how her and Kate talk about tradition and stuff like that, and celebration of miracles in Hanukkah. And then the question starts going like he's kind of at the point where he's becoming delusional since the cancer metastasized, it went into his brain. So he comes in and he thinks it's his ex.
He thinks it's his
ex-wife,
his ex-lover.
Yeah.
And he says, Myra, I know what we have to do. We have to leave Hub City. That's what Mommy told me.
Yeah.
And every single line of his dialogue is from his original comic run. And the one that we covered, actually, the the Denny O'Neil run.
Yeah.
But I think it's done in a way where you don't have to have read it at all to get
You're just like,
what's going on
He's delusional. Here? He's talking about stuff from the past, obviously.
Yeah, he mentions the pseudoderm, the gas that forms his mask as he starts collapsing to his knees.
You could tell he's got a lot of regrets because he's saying, Myra, I'm sorry I couldn't protect your daughter. I loved her like I loved you. And this is a powerful scene without the backstory. Mm-hmm. But if you read the Questions original series, the way it ended with his lover. We talked about how when we read that comic, how Hub City is people every comic book city always tries to paint itself as this fucked up irredeemable city where everyone's fucked up, like Gotham taken to an extreme.
This is going to be spoilers for what I think is an exceptional comic run that I recommend everybody read. So skip ahead 20 seconds if you plan to read Danny O'Neil's question run.
But I think it's important context for this.
Yeah.
Because what happens in that run is Question fails. He can't save the city. And he has to leave Hub City because if he doesn't, he's going to go through a mental breakdown. And that's why he starts saying to Mira.
And she won't leave. She stays.
Yeah. So he's saying basically his last words to her. Like, Mommy told me we have to leave. Like, he's going through a mental breakdown in his final issue of that series, basically. Mm-hmm. And Myra is like, I'm sorry, I know you have to leave because you're going to go crazy, Vic, but I have to help these people. Vic can't be the hero, but Myra can't leave these people behind. So it's like Vic's ultimate failure. And then to make it even worse, he takes her daughter to protect her daughter, and he fails in that too. So it's just all his failures compounded, and he's reliving all of them all at once now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even without that context, he's saying to Renee, I'm sorry, I tried, I really tried. I'm so sorry about Jackie, the daughter. I loved her like she was ours, Myra.
And he sees Myra here.
Yeah,
I loved her.
Switching who he sees as Renee's trying to help him.
Yeah, and he tells her, I couldn't say it. You could say it, but I never said it. I love you. And then Renee says, I love you too in the next panel.
Yeah.
It's really good. And she's crying, and Kate's like,
have some cider, it'll make you feel better.
Yeah. And she's like, if you add booze to it, and she's like, I can. And she's like, no, I'm just kidding. I had a problem.
Seems like all the problems I had when I started drinking are still there when I stop. So it seems like Renee's finally changing her destructive behavior.
Kate's like, you give him peace. You should be glad for that. Renee says, I am. I just wish I could get a little for myself. And then Kate kisses her.
And she's like,
she says, Merry Christmas, Renee.
Yeah.
And so we get a bunch of scenes of different superheroes celebrating Christmas.
Well, we have on the very far left side is Animal Man's wife saying Happy Christmas, Buddy, come home. On the very right-hand side is Buddy saying that star.
The Christmas star, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's also the direction of their home.
Just real quick question. Who's at the top right, the lady with all the cats? Is that Catwoman? Is she pregnant?
That's Catwoman.
That's
She's
Catwoman.
pregnant.
Okay. She was pregnant, I think, during...
so we see Clark Kent and Lois Lane, right? That's them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these panels are just here's what the regular DC heroes are up to.
Red Tornado's head is in the junkyard.
Yeah. Commissioner Gordon goes back to be commissioner, apparently. Yeah. Welcome back, Commissioner Gordon.
Hawkgirl's no longer a giant.
Yeah. Apparently, Firestorm rebuilt Cyborg.
I think they're just like
I think they're
hanging out.
Yeah.
So he's like holding up
I think he got him a wrench. For
Yeah,
Christmas.
get it? Huh, you're a cyborg? That must be pretty
That's
tiring. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
So then we go back to the Black Marvel family, and Osiris is telling his dad basically.
His brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he's like, they were afraid of us, but people think of bad things about us outside of Kondak. Sobek was gonna cry.
A crocodile's tears are nothing to ignore.
Yeah, I love that. And then she's like, you did. Isis says this to Black Adam, like, you did kill someone who was he was a criminal, but you still killed him on TV. You attempted to like consolidate this power base. You made many enemies this year. And it's not just your enemies, actually. It's mine and Osiris's enemies too. And like, do you think he can handle those enemies? And should he have to? And he's like, all right, fine. So
They basically do a public press event trying to like make themselves look friendly to the
and
general
this is a
world.
pretty big deal because he in front of the whole world says, I want to show you guys that underneath these powers of gods, and they all yell, Shazam, Black Adam, Isis, whatever, they turn into their regular selves, and everyone is shocked by this. Like the Justice Society is like there, and they're like, what?
Yeah, but Suicide Squad's like, Man Wall is like, this is bullshit, Adam Smasher, you gotta go after your old friend, like, this is all an act, like, we gotta take down Black Adam.
And now we know they have a weakness. I don't know how you exploit that weakness when they have to do it voluntarily, so I'm like, unless you kill them in that moment, you're kind of fucked. So then we see that this is the Suicide Squad on the hunt. And here's what they say. A boomerang flies in front of the
Amanda
leader,
Waller.
Amanda Waller. And she says to him, I heard you were smarter than your father. I still don't see it. And he goes, you will, gorgeous.
You will, gorgeous. As soon as the Suicide Squad wish the Black Marvel family a happy fucking holiday.
And it's Captain Boomerang's son.
Is the Captain? Yeah, fuck you. Captain Boomerang song is awesome.
Is he awesome? Or
He's a good character. Like, he was he's a well-developed character. Like, the son of a criminal. Like,
I like him.
Yeah.
So, one thing I do really love about hearing you guys give the play-by-play is because sometimes there's things that you're like, what are they going to do? And then we very quickly see, like, I know what they're going to do. Like, a lot of times the stuff that you're like, well, I think this, this is the only thing that's going to happen, does actually kind of happen.
I thought this was not going to get resolved for another couple weeks, and instead we jump into issue week 34, and it starts with the Suicide Squad watching over the
really
Marvel
appreciated
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, to be fair, they also were hinting at this earlier, too. They're watching for a while.
Yeah.
And they're all sassing each other.
And they give the exposition of their plan, which is to like separate the Black Marvel family and use an electromagnetic boomerang to cut off communication so they can't call the Teen Titans. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, they mention all the different people like, okay, Plastique and Explosive Man or whatever. Well,
they're just like it's just a squad of villains. They don't really matter.
I thought their combo was cool. Like one's the explosive, the other one's detonator. So one charges the other one, the other one's basically a human bomb at that point.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Osiris and Black Adam and Sobek and Isis are flying around, and the Titans have agreed to give Osiris a shot.
Cool.
And then, just as that happens, an explosion goes off, and they all fly away. And then Atom Smasher can grow really big, so he just grabs Black Adam.
That's his powers, be big?
I think so.
Is it like the Atom, where he can get big and small?
Yeah, I think he's just evil. But Adam can't grow big, so I think he's like inverse Adam.
He's the Adam.
He gets small. He's stuck being that small for the rest of his life.
Well, he can go back to regular size, but he can't grow like to giant. The Adam can never grow giant size.
And he's also like radioactive powered, so he has like explosive punches.
Also, is he an old villain of him because he's Black Adam and he's Atom Smasher? Is that like?
No, they used to work together on the same team until
they were
Black
on the
Adam.
Justice Society, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they're fighting each other. Well,
and Black Adam's like, we're trying to be better, and Atom Smasher is like, you can't wash away murder. You need to.
And he's like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you, Black Adam. And Black Adam's like, don't worry, you won't.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, Black Adam's like, he keeps saying like, I'm not going to turn myself into a hypocritical government to be judged as you have. So like, even though he's done crimes, he's like, who is America to judge?
Yeah. What
And then
about America?
And then they're gonna kill Sobek because they're like, we're supposed to bring in the Black Marvel family, kill the Croc.
Yeah, Osiris is fighting the electrocutioner, and then there's some guy that just makes her dizzy.
Vertigo.
Yeah.
Count Vertigo.
And electrocutioner's like, back off, Count, that tree hugger.
It's funny that Darryl makes fun of the one character that's the most relevant out of all of these. Like, Count Vertigo wasn't a Batman cartoon and stuff like that.
I've
I
never.
But he's
heard
not
of
really
it.
the most relevant.
He's the most relevant.
For all
I know, but it's funny, like, the one character's powers make perfect sense. Like, he's been in a lot of things, but he points
For
out
all
the
I
one
know,
character.
you could have like a huge boner for electrocutioner, and you'd be screaming at me right now for making fun of him.
It feels like Darryl make fun of anyone. He could be.
No, you
like,
defend
if you know who Superman
anyone.
was, like, who's this dumb guy? Superman, he flies around. Superman, really? You make me believe this.
I think it's more that you will defend any comic book character that we ever say.
I defend you guys. Like, if you guys weren't like, look at this stupid fucker right here, every fucking page, I wouldn't do that much.
Why do they put stupid fuckers on every page?
What's stupid about a guy who can make you fucking nauseous? Like, what's that's a very useful power?
I think
that
to
is
answer,
useful.
I love Count Vertigo. The thing that makes him stupid is the big cape.
I thought he was a Green Lantern.
No. The thing I passed over him quickly because he's literally in like 2 panels. It's one
Yeah.
panel of him
I
walking.
know, but
out
you're
of
like,
fire
this
and then
fucking
jumping
guy
away.
makes her nauseous, whatever.
I didn't even know what he did. I just made her just like fall down.
So anyway, Executioner, the guy with the big axe,
Electrocutioner,
is-
dickhead.
Oh,
Electrocutioner.
Jesus.
Get your
Sorry,
lore
guys.
right.
He's like kind of really going hard after.
Yeah, they want you all alive, but as he like cuts into her face and he's like, but fuck it, this is too much fun, as he lifts the axe over her head. And then Osiris flies in screaming, leave my sister alone, and he just flies through Electrocutioner and splits him right in half with his intestines like dangled around Osiris. And then everyone looks on in like shock. They're like, "Oh, what have you done?" And Sobek goes, "Oh dear."
And Vertigo's there, just looking like,
Yeah.
fuck.
And now, basically, Osiris goes all Superboy Prime saying, you should leave my sister alone. I wanted the good. I wanted the good. I'm so sorry.
But this time it's, I think, a lot more justified and like I feel it a lot
It's
more.
also, he has someone there to comfort him, his sister. Yes. She reaches over and hugs him.
It rains.
And then Black Adam's like, let's go home before anyone else gets
I thought
by the way.
this was a cool scene because I know superheroes aren't supposed to kill, but like I was telling Darryl this yesterday, I'm like, in any place in the entire world, if someone is trying to murder you or your family and you kill them in self-defense, it is justified. Like I think by any.
Well, but then they do talk about that a little bit later on. But the main thing that happens is Amanda Waller's like, we got what we wanted.
Yeah, because Vertigo's
We
like, should
pushed
we
them.
go attack again? And she's like, you weren't gonna win, you assholes. Like,
Yeah. And she's like, they pushed back, and
We had footage.
we got the footage. We filmed the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And then it's more Infinity Inc. stuff in the series. No, this is Black Canary and Oracle's group. What are they called?
Birds of Prey.
Birds of
I
Prey.
would never know that.
Yeah.
If you read the backstory lore, it tells you.
So the main thing is John Henry Irons goes to Black Canary and Oracle to try to just set up a series of circumstances that will let him actually talk to Natasha because she's
using
always...
her hacking skills.
Right, because they're shopping right now with the Alexa's right hand woman and then Natasha and the redhead who's like really
The teleporting one, Matrix.
Yeah, who's
The
like
one who's really outgoing and friendly, and she replaced the Asian friend.
and she's like, I'm pulling really well with 18 to 25-year-old males, so you guys need to step up your game.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you did a nude shoot. She's like, that was art.
It's funny. This feels more relevant than ever with algorithms and YouTube and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So then the credit card gets denied, Lex's credit card, so the bodyguard has to go look for another, and then the police, like...
And she's like, do you know who I am? I'm working for Lex Luthor, you fucking bitch. I'll kill you. And
Yeah.
she's like, I'm sorry, your credit card's declined. She's like, I'll be back. And she walks
The
away.
cops are Black Canary and John
Henry
Henry Irons. So then...
Yeah, they say they're going to escort them. And the thing that I really like about the scene is John Henry Irons he doesn't like lecture her at all. He's just like, you're a scientist, listen to the evidence.
Yeah, he grabs Natasha, and that's what he tells her, because telling her stuff obviously works against him. So he says, your friend Blockbuster killed Eliza Harmon Trajectory. How did a slug like Blockbuster, the slow Hulk dude, manage to grab a speedster, basically?
Yep.
And he also says, look at me. I don't have steel skin anymore. I didn't cure it. It just fell off.
You're a scientist, Nass. Look at the facts. Draw your own conclusions.
And then we have this just one...
I can't
I love
believe
this page.
I couldn't believe this. I'm like, does Lex just grab Clark Kent all the time and torture him?
Grab Clark Kent off the street, put him in a chair, handcuffed him, and then give him truth serum. And he's
Wonder
like,
Woman's lasso.
He does this because he's trying to find out who Supernova is, thinking it's Superman. And since Clark Kent was the one who interviewed him, just like Lois was the first one to interview Superman, she knew Superman the best. He assumed that Clark Kent would know Supernova the best.
Yeah.
So Clark Kent's the number one suspect to interrogate.
So he said...
But he doesn't even say it's not because he wants to know, it's that he's so sure that he's right.
Yeah.
So he asks him, why is Superman masquerading as Supernova?
Yeah.
And he says, that makes it funny, gentlemen. I have no idea who's under the mask, but I know one thing for certain. He's not Superman.
Which to me sets up, obviously Clark Kent knows who Superman is, so why doesn't Lex go, then who is Superman?
Clark's like, shit. It me.
No, but like, that's why I find it funny because Lex Luthor doesn't think to ask him that, so it's very much like he's fucked, and then Lex Luthor just asks the wrong question specifically with this true serum in Clark Kent,
Yeah.
and just
also-
happens to work that way.
And also, character note about Lex Luthor, he refuses to believe that Superman has a secret identity because he's like, if you're Superman, you're going to be Superman all the time because you're a god,
Yeah.
so why would you ever be somebody
Why would you
else?
ever be mortal, basically?
So
Yeah, exactly.
then we come to St. Luke's Hospital emergency bay, and we get more of Renee's narration about how this is the Death March, the Death Watch now, and that they're keeping him on morphine because it's the only thing that can keep him quiet.
Oh yeah, and the question starts singing, "Oh Johnny Boy, the pipes are calling," which he did a lot on the Daniel O'Neill series.
Yeah.
And it's a really good like scene of her looking after him and her like expressing all the internal narration of like fear and doubt and like sadness.
She doesn't kill him with morphine because the last big question he has is what happens when you die, and like he wouldn't want to miss that. So if he was conscious, he would say not to do it.
So she turns on the TV, and it's almost New Year's now, and they're dropping, instead of a big ball in Metropolis, it's a big S for Superman.
Maybe he'll come back if you do that.
Yeah. So then Lex,
It's just that
he's
they're like
just
Clark
mad.
Kent was telling the truth, and he goes to the roof, and he's like just really angry. He looks at the
all the people flying overhead and stuff.
and he's like, "Why can't I be one of them?"
And he says, "Whoever you are, Supernova, this city isn't yours, it's mine, and you're winning too many hearts." So what's he gonna do as the ball starts to count down?
He says, "It's time you failed. It's time you failed in the face of a real challenge."
And so this is like a big splash page of like the countdown, and you see for each
Countdown to New Year's.
Yeah, for Countdown to New Year's.
Like Countdown to Infinite Crisis.
Yeah.
Or
Count-
Infinite Crisis.
As it goes like 10, 9, you get a different panel for each one, and it's either the New Year's ball in Metropolis or it's Renee holding the question's hand and him singing another line of the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's really well done, but it's hard to capture in speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Lex says 0, and he presses a button, and you're like, oh, what happened? You have to go to the next issue.
And I love that the cover next page is exactly what happens to me after. It's all the superheroes falling out of the sky with Lex Luthor just watching as it happens.
So, week 35 starts, as we said, with all the superheroes falling from the sky.
It's a really crazy thing to watch.
It's gory. Like
it's
a person just splats onto in front of a woman,
and the guy's
guy's
like one of the Human Storm guys,
The
or
Human Torch
the Human
guys.
Torch guys, Johnny Storm is what I was calling. He is like just burning to death, like from his fire.
Yeah, and like there's this one guy that's like, George Calderon can't save these guys, but Leviathan can, and he's trying to grow to catch somebody. He's like, I can't grow, and then somebody lands on top of him and just splatters all over somebody.
and his corpse just splatters all over his friend nearby next to him.
Yeah. And Lex is like smugly like smiling, but on the phone he's like, I can't imagine what's happening. I'm shocked, appalled. And Supernova is like, Lex, what's happening? And Lex is like, oh gosh, if only Metropolis had a Superman who could stop all this chaos. Oh well.
He's like, this is the most comic villain evil thing he does, because not only does he talking on the phone, he says, hold on a sec, and he looks up and there's someone about to fall, and he just takes a step to the side, and this guy just splats next to him, and he's like, anyway, and I'm like, this guy...
That's the thing about Lex Luthor. He always does stuff like that. There's always like scenes where he's always kind of helping, stuff like that. But characters are like, you can't trust Lex Luthor, can't trust Lex Luthor, and there's always scenes like this. You're like, oh yeah, you could never trust Lex Luthor.
He is the
Yeah.
most
He'll do this
evil.
at a whim.
He's worse than the crime Bible people. Like,
and then
I don't know.
He's
I
the
don't
ultimate
know.
DC villain, essentially.
yeah.
If you help him, you might survive. Or his crime Bible people
That's
literally
true.
eat each other and
that's true.
murder each
Yeah,
other.
that's true. So Supernova he like goes to a crowd and like shines a bright light and they're all gone and they're like and the media is like, how could you vaporize thousands of innocent
Yeah.
people? He's like, I just teleported them right out of town. Don't worry about it.
He says,
so he is
right now, those are the safest people in town, or rather, out of town.
Yeah.
And so the Infinity Inc. people are the only ones who still have their powers. Like the rest
Yeah,
of them
that,
got
like,
turned
core
off.
team.
And it's like you see a lot of scenes of just like people in the street like being like, null gravity, null gravity. Like I can't get it to work. And like all these like new superheroes are like trying to use their powers to no avail.
Yeah. And John Henry Irons is like, Luthor did this. And they're like, but why would he do this? And he's like, we're going to find out. Get the Titans together. So they're getting everybody together. And Luthor now, the story that he's spinning to Infinity Inc. is that something went wrong that caused so many participants to spontaneously reject their enhancements. They've isolated the errant gene sequence that they've instituted mandatory screening for it. So Infinity Inc. has been screened, and they're all clean.
Who's missing from this bunch though is Everyman, the shapeshifter, and they're like, well, his results were inconclusive, so he's downstairs getting further testing.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, that's always great when you have a shapeshifter that's unaccounted
Missing,
for in a group.
Yeah.
Where is he? I don't know.
Yeah, they immediately start getting booked on the media again. You know, they're going on Jack Ryder's show, all this, like, they're doing a whole press kit.
Next scene, what's her face? Henry Irons' niece.
Yeah, Natasha
Yeah,
is
Natasha,
looking...
Sorry, realized, so it's basically like looking at the her friend, and like realizing, let's get a piece together. Like, this is
The
all like a
speedster
setup.
that
Like,
died, she's looking at it.
She's like, this doesn't add up.
She's thinking over it through. Well, Jake's there, and he's like, what's
Skyman,
wrong?
her boyfriend, who's really the shapeshifter.
Well,
Spoilers.
We don't know that
He
yet.
could be, yeah. He
No,
could
we
be
do
anyone.
know that.
We
Oh,
know
it
he
could be- okay.
impersonated once. What I assumed I read it was he
Okay.
impersonated once, but spoilers, he basically ate him, and now he impersonated him.
So yeah, it's him the whole
Oh my
time.
god, it's true because he did eat him.
And he's like, of course I'll help you. I love you. I won't let anything happen to you.
Yeah.
And they're standing in front
I
of a
love that.
picture of the shapeshifter, Skyman, and Natasha. A little on the nose
love
for
that.
me.
I was like, yeah, that's definitely the
Yeah.
It was hinted, but they do confirm that he was because he does say all he needs is like toenail clippings to impersonate somebody, but he does reveal
He says he's got like a taste for it. He's basically a crime Bible. He's like, I like eating people now.
later.
Yeah.
He says
Yeah.
this.
Fucking goddamn crime Bible.
So then, to end the issue, it cuts to Lobo and the gang in space, and they're like, we got to take the fight to Lady Styx. Let's do it. How do we do that? And
Lobo reveals that he found them because they had Lobo on their heads. Like,
yeah,
you
he's
got
like,
it.
Lobo.
Lady Styx put a bounty on all your heads, so I'm just going to take you right to her. That sound good? Okay. And they're like, oh, fuck.
And this is why I always.
Well, this was Adam Strange's idea. He says, "What if you brought us all the way to claim that bounty yourself? 3 little people could do a hell of a lot of damage from inside the machine." And Lobo's like, I like that idea.
Yeah. But so we cut to next issue. All right, so the cover is Lobo fighting a bunch of guys.
What happened to his vow of pacifism?
But I thought he was a pacifist.
Yeah, so it cuts to Lobo. He's basically handing over the group to Lady Styx. They're on chains, and he's like, "What about my bounty?" And she's like, "Oh, Lady Styx is all she does is give."
What's she saying? So the fish, the space dolphin has to translate between Lady Styx and Lobo.
And
Yeah,
the
and
fish
she's
says,
like-
"Oh, there is no bounty, your worship. We're all broken down into biomass the server needs. She'll take the information she needs."
Yeah, all Lady Styx has to give is death. Please take your
Please
fill.
take your fill.
And then she's like, okay. Lobo's like, okay, I guess I gotta leave then.
Yeah, because the rest of them are like, "Help, help, Lobo, help!" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm not a fighter." And then
Yeah.
the space fish is like, she says you can't fight at all. She's calling you a coward. She
Yeah,
says
she's like, wow, you suck. Only a true pathetic character so hardly embrace doctrines of universal peace as a way of avoiding a slapping. In fact, it's a complete U-turn. She says a cheesy betrayal of the Lobo brand. Everything it stands for. Oh
Lobo
dear,
brand.
a coward and a sellout. She says, and the whole time she's like, remember your vows, remember your vows. And Lobo's like,
and then the dolphin's like, the whole church is a mockery for cowards, and she says you suck your own dick.
and she's like, forgive me, great fish, and he starts murdering everyone.
Yeah, the best line is she says your god's a big fat prancing coward who licks his own just like you, main man.
Yeah, and then she's like, I try my best, big fish, but fragging for a bass fish, even I got my limits. And he just goes on killing spree.
This scene makes the whole Lobo plot worth it for me.
I
'cause this
kind
rules.
of agree. I liked this a lot.
This is Lobo's just fucking killing the like. This is the edgelords I like. I don't like edgelord when it's mean spirited. I love edgelord when it's just fucking killing a bunch
Mean
of bad
spirit
guys.
against things that deserve to die.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And Lobo just starts cutting up everybody. Animal Man resists the brainwashing by saying he believes in his family.
yeah, the codes are all saying believe in her, and he says I believe in this. This is my family. I believe in this.
He shows a picture
then-
of his family.
And then Adam Strange shoots a gun through the space station ceiling, and then the Green Lantern head flies in. It's just a big fight scene.
The Green Lantern head basically carries the
Lady
Lady Styx's
Styx.
son.
Yeah.
And so basically they're like Lobo's like talking about killing 2 birds with 1 stone because I don't have to get back that eye, and now Lady Styx is dead. And then but it turns out while they're fighting, the Owl Man was killed.
Well, he got shot with a necrotoxin, and he starts to like basically get really sick. And he's like, my family, they know how much I love them. You don't even have to tell them. Look,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're
I
cheering
told
us
you
on.
the universe likes me. I told you the universe likes me. But then
One thing I want to point out, when he points and he says they're cheering us on, he's actually talking about us, the reader, because in Grant Morrison's run, he took a bunch of peyote and saw that he was in a comic book.
So Grant Morrison knew this is when Phil started changing his mind on the story. Like, I knew I'll make Phil start liking the story.
I am cheering him on. You can do it, Edelman. And he asks Starfire, "Don't let me come back as a zombie, promise."
And the line he says, "You don't even have to tell my family I love them.
Yeah,
you won't have to
that's
tell
really
them
sweet.
they know."
And
he
speaking of his
dies.
family, like it's not even one day later. Immediately, the wife knows.
She
knows.
can feel it, you know.
Yeah, and
Across the
so she starts
universe.
crying, and the kids go like, "Mom." So cut back to question the hospital, still delirious. And Renee just saying like, "This is unfair. Like why does why is he dying? He's a good man. Like why is this happening to
He
us?"
was smart. He was a royal pain in my ass. He was my best
Yeah.
friend in the whole world.
And he mentions how the friends back in the Alps have been sending them flowers. That's supposed to, like basically like mystic, like in Batman Begins, he has a weird blue flower that's going out of nowhere. Like mystical place, mystical flowers growing here. Supposedly have mystical healing properties, but they can't survive outside of
Nanda
that place.
Parbat.
Yeah, they keep mailing it to her. It's just dust.
But as she holds it out, she's like, they can't be outside of Nanda Parbat.
So then it cuts to she has a bunch of morphine stocked up, and she's taking Charlie on a trip.
Yep.
And Kate's trying to convince her not to, saying the weather alone could kill you both. And she's like, I gotta save him. He saved me. I owe him my life. Like, he saved me. I gotta die trying to save him.
Yeah.
And she kisses Kate and says goodbye.
Yes.
And so meanwhile, Cyrus is now.
So this is when they're starting talking about how, Phil, when you were saying like in defense, like they would be innocent, but he's saying that like, well, it's like, and Sobek's like, well, when Wonder Woman killed Maxwell Lord, people came around that she was a hero, and it's like, yeah, but everybody loved Wonder Woman. They already viewed us as villains. How can we possibly convince them that we're heroes?
Yeah, so what I was alluding to is they're doing the character assassination to Osiris that they did to Wonder Woman. Look at her kill. Yeah.
And I know it's like in the comic world, like you just never kill villains, but it's like I feel like in a real world, like heroes would kill villains often. Like as they're trying to murder other people, like sometimes you have to use force to stop them.
Yeah. You have to keep it's more. It's like a meta commentary. You have to keep. This is not like. You have the best analogy. This is like when people in the 70s, when people first finding out the government does like coups and espionage. Like logically, the government would always do that. That will always happen. But when people started figuring that stuff out, it changed a lot of people's perception about the world.
Yeah.
It created a very different culture.
I also think that there's an added element that they keep talking about how he's a teenager that like has all these powers of a god and cannot control himself.
I have a bigger problem.
Okay.
So Osiris is reading the newspaper, and it's Kendok News, the English edition. At the top it says Osiris murderer. Wouldn't Black Adam not have them print this in his own totalitarian dictator state?
I'm sure ISIS has showed him the strength of the freedom of the press.
It probably says like, oh yeah, you're right. How do you?
I was
That's a
wondering
fair
that
point.
too. I'm like, this is an authoritarian state.
While Osiris was here, they were beating prisoners, like just suspecting them of being evil.
I never noticed that, and that is completely valid.
Maybe only the Kodak edition. Maybe the Kodak edition says Osiris, hero to the people.
Oh,
and this is like
the English addiction. This is like Al Jazeera, America.
yeah. So Beck tries to comfort him, saying, but
I don't hate you.
yeah, he said, Osiris says, everyone hates me, and Beck says, I don't hate you. And Osiris says, thank you, Sobek. And I'm sorry you're a filler character, but I appreciate your friendship. So then we cut to.
Where are we? We don't know where we are yet.
We don't know where we are. It's like it looks like a futuristic space city, and Supernova's talking to Rip Hunter, and Rip Hunter's like acting really weird. Like he's saying words backwards. He's saying
Words out of order.
yeah, words out of
Because
order.
time is broken. I mean, broken is time.
Yeah, and Supernova's like, relax, Rip Hunter. You're hard enough to understand when you're linear, and he's trying to keep him focused. And he's like, don't worry, Rip. Right now we're safe. And we see Darryl gets immediately. So props to his comic nerdom now. They're in.
The bottled city of Kandor at the
Is it a model city or is it a real city shrunk
It's a
down?
real bottled. He's in Bottled City.
Oh, I think at this point it's a model.
No, it's real. There's people. There's people in the next.
Are there
city.
people in it?
There's people in it.
Oh yeah, there are people in it. So yeah, it is the bottled city again.
So I know it, so it's basically like this miniature city. Basically, I think Brainiac or somebody.
It's really
it changes.
basically just-
Different continuities have different explanations.
Yeah.
The one I know is Brainiac shrunk down a part of Krypton and citizens to preserve them for all time. So part of Krypton survives forever. Superman found it and put it in the Fortress of Solitude.
because he can't grow it bigger.
And,
Yeah,
and
so
just to be clear, I only know this because it showed up in our first Patreon episode that we ever did for
Oh,
Divisive
yeah.
Issues, where Superman shows off the really small people of Kandor. And I was like, this is so dumb. Lo and behold, it's a plot point.
Grant
that
Morrison
they're
is
hiding.
like so dumb, you say?
But the actual twist at the end is not just that they're hiding in Kandor, but Skeets is there and he's
Yes.
found them.
Yeah, and Rip Hunter was afraid. He's like, what if he finds us before we're ready?
Yep.
And he's
And
like-
he did.
And Skeets did find them, as we see at the beginning of issue 37. Kandor is under siege, and we hear a giant voice out of the sky. You and your errand boy have gotten sloppy, Rip Hunter. A tachyon here, a chronal footprint there. You left a trail, and I found you. And so he's just outside the bottle.
Surrender to me immediately, or it's Krypton all over again. He's just slamming into.
Yeah, he's just bumping into the Canada, like saying, "Gotta knock it over, gotta knock it over, guys."
And so Rip Hunter's like, okay, we're not prepared. You need to stall. So leave the costume, and I'll rewire its circuitry. And go big and go fight him.
So
And-
this was some pretty crazy whiplash for me, because as soon as he does that, he has like the atomic, like the electron orbits around him, which is what the atom does, and I went, oh right, the atom hasn't been introduced in this story. Like, where has he been ever since Jean Loring was put into prison and stuff like that? And I'm like, he would be the atom because he was shrinking all the people down to a small size to transport them or something. Which is why
That was thinking like a comic nerd now.
it
What's
was
this outside?
One page. I was thinking that you flip the page and you go over, and it's Booster Gold. I was like, huh?
So
Darryl is now a comic fan. He's doing this stuff. People were doing it. Here's in Crisis. Oh, it's Doctor Manhattan. He's changing everything.
I just want to say that I think on an earlier episode I said that he had teleporting powers and
Booster Gold.
No, Supernova. I'm like,
Oh.
I didn't know it was Booster, but I was like, this guy is teleporting people, and it makes sense that Booster can do this with some advanced technology and some kind of time stop power and teleportation or something. So I was like, I can buy this very easily, like that. Like, it's a mystery that I was like, this does make mostly make sense.
And it's a character that has been in the story
Yep.
regularly, so
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
not like, who's this fucking bullshit? Like, if the Atom showed up,
it's
I mean,
not
I
the
love the
Atom.
Atom, but that would be like, why? How would we ever have gotten
Although now I'm
And
still
it-
like, where's the atom?
And it's revealed that this wasn't set up all along. Basically, after Booster Gold saw that Rip Hunter's lab where it said he broke time, Rip Hunter came in and said, "Wait, don't tell Skeets. Skeets is evil."
No, it wasn't just like, it wasn't Booster that broke time. It was Skeets. It was
Yes.
circled around Booster Gold because Skeets was next to him all the time.
Yeah, and we've
Yeah.
and if you remember, Skeets never entered the lab with him or with his ancestor.
Yeah.
He has to hold the door open with time hacking.
Basically, while Booster was off panel, he was talking to Rip Hunter while Skeets wasn't listening, saying Skeets is evil.
Yeah.
And basically, everything was set up from the beginning. They needed to plan to stop Skeets, but they couldn't do it while Skeets was with Booster because. So they set up the supernova thing, so it was a plausible distraction for Skeets. Like, oh, Booster's occupied with this dumb thing, so he's not gonna be focused on me or anything.
Yeah, and Rip Hunter's mastery of time helped him get all like the gadgets he used and everything.
Yeah.
Like, he took the Atom size changing belt, so on and so forth.
And he needed to be gone for an extended period of time. So the whole plan all along was for him to the rivalry to eventually cause Booster Gold's apparent death. And since the rivalry, like, it seemed believable that Booster would be so anxious to get like this big glorious moment that Skeets wouldn't suspect it for a second, which he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when...
And neither did the audience.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
When the
We all
bomb
bought
went
into it.
off and blew it up and threw down Booster's skeleton, he says that they got Booster's dead body from later on in time. He's like, I prefer not to think about that.
The old Heroes in Crisis tactics.
Yeah.
Ryan said they're gonna hate this just because of Heroes in Crisis.
No, if he had replaced himself with his future self who then had to kill his present self, then I would hate this. But taking your
Okay.
body from the graveyard in the
corpse.
future, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, I am so relieved. I really thought you guys were gonna be like, this is fucking
It's still,
bullshit.
to me, it's still like so many wild jumps. It really feels like you set up the supernova thing a bit beforehand, but it's like everything is plausible here. That, like, when I was reading it, I'm like, okay,
Right.
okay.
That's exactly how I felt. I wasn't like, this makes perfect sense. I was more like, this, I can buy all this. I can buy it. And that's what I need out of, like, Slides always saying, how can you buy this and not that? It's like, for me, it doesn't need to be the most logical thing in the universe. It needs to be plausible. And this, to me, was 100% plausible. I'm like, this could make sense, and that's enough.
And they even, like, they left, like him going into Rip Hunter, remember, was like into that office for the first time was a cliffhanger, and then he came out later on.
Yeah.
They leave enough holes that they now fill in.
Yep.
That it's not like you had to. It's not like an Identity Crisis where they cheat a lot. It's just like they set up this mystery, and it fits.
Yep. And so there's a big battle while he exposits all this between Booster and Skeets. He's shooting these big future guns at him. He's kicking him.
And this is also when he reveals that most of the circuitry from Supernova's suit was powered by Superman's Phantom Zone projector.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that we know, I think, from the Patreon episode, right?
Well, if you know Superman, you probably know the Phantom Zone from Superman too.
No, because we read
Yeah.
something with the Phantom. I thought
Probably.
we did. Yeah.
And so, he's been teleporting people this whole time. That's his power. And flying and everything like that. And he uses the lights to make it seem like it's a different power. And which is how Ralph Dibny got
Booster's
it.
Supernova.
Yep, when Booster's Supernova. And so then Rip Hunter
Comes out with the Phantom Zone projector and tries to lock Skeets into the Phantom Zone.
And he's like,
But Skeets absorbs all the people inside Phantom Zone instead. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
nice
you're
try.
like, what?
he's eating the Phantom Zone.
And it shows all the people inside locked in there.
And then Rip Hunter and Booster were like, oh fuck, we gotta get out of here. And Rip Hunter starts counting down from 52.
52, 51 disappear.
And Skeets tries to follow after them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we have Star City. Green Lantern's helping repair. Green Arrow is like... being
Black
mayor.
Canary's talking to Green Arrow, and she's like, so you really want to be like the mayor of this town and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's setting up a further status quo, but one of the big things is Ollie's just checking in with Black Canary because he's like, how's Ralph doing? You know, like, we're all kind of worried about him. Have you guys had any luck? And it just shows, like, the heroes, like, the main character heroes are still looking for and care about, like, people like Ralph. And it's like, you know, he's unstable. When we lost him, he was searching for a way to bring his wife back.
And it's a nice, it's a nice touch because Black Canary and Green Arrow were a relationship, and they're a very on and off relationship. And so she says to Green Arrow, "Don't mistake passion for insanity, don't mistake passion for insanity, Ollie. Ralph just loved Sue too much to ever let her go." And she walks away, and Ollie says, "How does that work?"
And then we...
And we're laughing, but I thought it was a poignant
No,
touch,
we're
like,
laughing because the next page has Lobo going, he was a feisty little pastiche and no mistake. As he's over Animal Man's dead body on a stone in space.
You see, they made us like a slab on an asteroid, like floating
Yeah.
in space.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention earlier, part of the thing that was going on with Animal Man's plot throughout is he was starting to be able to develop slightly more animal powers. Like, he was able to survive in space because he was able to leech off the dolphin that flies around space. So, like, I just, seeing everyone standing out in space, and I realized we never mentioned how Animal Man didn't just die. Like, immediately.
I forgot to mention, too, I was so sad when he died the other time, too, because it's like, this is before Booster revealing to be alive still happened. So I'm like, these are, like, one of the few guys I like, because right now, Question's already dying, Booster was dead, now Animal Man's dead. I'm like, I'm running out of people to like in this comic.
Is the Space Dolphin thing like a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or something?
I think so, yeah.
And I also find it funny how every time they're in a space scene, it's just, they're all just standing around, like, with gravity, without helmets, and there's planets everywhere in the sky. It's just like, they're always on these big spacescapes that are just like,
It just got like look at Guardians of the
bizarro.
Galaxy. A lot of times they're like in weird, impractical situations.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they're saying goodbye to Animal Man's body. They're like,
Lobo's like, I can take you part of the way there back to Earth, but then I gotta go back.
and he's like,
and one thing I love is he's like, did you see out there, you know, the origin of the universe and everything?
because that's why they have a
Adam
bounty
Strange-
on their head, is because
Yeah.
they saw what they shouldn't see.
And Adam Strange is like giant hands and something else. I can't remember. And Lobo's like, I figured it had to be something stupid.
And then you see Animal Man holding the picture of his family. They leave.
He sees corpse. They fly away. Basically, it's still shot on Animal Man. You see the ship flying away in each panel, and as time
because
passes,
they say we can't bring his body in case it's been contaminated.
Yeah, and time passes. We see just the same view of Animal Man's corpse, and finally he wakes up saying, "Don't leave me."
Yeah.
And then two aliens are standing next to him. Two yellow aliens in goofy
Giant
outfits.
heads.
Goofy looking dumbass aliens, which I think are his origin aliens,
Yes,
right?
they are.
Yeah.
Ryan said we should do Animal Man's run just to talk about the aliens. And I'm like, I don't remember
I'm
aliens
sitting
being
here
relevant.
and actually reading all the origin stories at the end of each of these comics is really paying off because I'm like, oh, right, Oracle she knows Black Canary because of Birds of Prey, and now these are the aliens that like gave Animal Man his powers because that's where he got them from.
I had no idea. I was like, who are these these fucking aliens. Why do we need more aliens introduced at this point?
That's why don't take my word on what's like I said, I don't take my word on what's important, not what's not important, because I don't remember if the cubes are important or not. But
it seems like the Stygian stuff wrapped itself up, so I would say that's not that important in the context. Like, it was mainly there to kill Animal Man and to leave him alone.
well, we'll see. We don't know yet, because I really don't remember. So I forgot Animal Man meets his creator, so I don't know where this scene is going whatsoever.
So meet its maker.
One thing I want to point out at the end of week 37 in the notes, this is like my this is what I do every issue.
Yeah, I like it.
Mark Waid talks about how apparently the online fan theory, everyone was like, it's so obvious Supernova is the Atom the whole time. So they were like, let's just play into it for a couple pages and fuck with these people.
That's why he has the Atom belt. That's pretty good. Okay, it got me. So, week 38, we begin in the trip to Nanda Parbat, and...
with Renee and Vic.
Yeah.
And the
And
narration...
Vic does not look good.
Yeah, this is, the whole time this was going on, I'm like, if he doesn't make it, this is a really, like, terrible thing to do. To take this person that, like, is in such massive pain, they need to be on morphine, to take them into the Himalayas and make them climb up the mountain. Or not making them climb. He'll be in like
even being dragged though. People take a lot of beating.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a terrible experience. So he's sitting there coughing, and he's like, it hurts. And Renee's just like, I know, Charlie. I know it does. And
He's barely saying anything. He's just like all his panels just him breathing.
Yeah. And her narration's like, I'm not crazy. I'm not. I'm trying to save his life. He's dying, and I'm trying to save him. I can save him.
And with all this stuff, the reason why this is so impactful to me, like why I so believe Renee's motivation here, is because throughout this whole book, we've been following Ralph Dibny talk about how resurrections happen all the time. You know, death shouldn't matter in superhero universes. Look at this.
Yeah.
And Renee's like, how come my friend has to die? This is bullshit.
Yeah, and like the whole time, like Vic is getting aggressive towards her, and he's like, poison. Yeah,
When she's trying to give him medicine.
Yeah, you stupid girl. Think I don't know you're giving me poison.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we
go from really serious to
all the mad doctors on the island, and now that
Max is now full mad scientist. Now he's not even helping the scientist. All he's doing is building.
Professor, come in. I'm just having dinner. He's just eating cans and cans of baked beans, cold.
And so like Teomaro is like, let's go hang out and talk like we used to do back in the old days. But now Will's like fully like, no, I can't talk. Gotta work. Gotta make my plutonium, man.
Yeah, he's making the platinum men again, or metal
and
men.
I like because Teomaro wanted Will to be useful, but now he basically like lost his friend. Which is a nice weird bit of humanization.
Yeah.
For
And then
mad
Egg
scientist.
Foo starts quoting from Revelation of Apocalypse, which I was like, how do they know this book of crime know about like Apocalypse? Was this written recently, I guess?
I guess.
I assume Apocalypse has something to do with this because Egg
For
Foo.
what it's worth, they're talking about Apocalypse, the planet Darkseid lives on.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like
So,
the biblical
so just to clarify, Mannheim, when he was part of the Darkseid story arc stuff. And
at the
Egg
very
Foo
beginning,
is a part of Darkseid's Apocalypse world. I that's why maybe I don't see it as dumb because this
that makes sense.
I thought this is like tied to Apocalypse and Darkseid. I thought Darkseid creates religion.
But
support,
why
like,
did he include the Judeo-Christian Bible and also Sherlock Holmes?
the DC, because a lot of writers in DC are Christian, they always emphasize that the Christian religion is somehow more important than all other religions in the universe. Like everything, like Spectre and stuff like that. Everything hints that the Bible, like Earth, is special in some way.
So anyway, they're building these giant, horrible monster robots.
They've already built them. They come out of this big machine, and they're
basically they created the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
But there's only 3 of them,
and they look like H.G. Geiger, like humanoid technology abominations.
I would like to fight them in like a Doom game or something.
They look like Doom villains, yeah.
And Teomaro asks, well, what happened to the 4th horseman? And they say, you're the unknown. The Hunger Lord rode out before the others. Mm-hmm. Oh God, what have we made? And Egg Foo's like, they are unstoppable.
Yeah, so all the scientists were just like, we were just making like fun science stuff with all the money we had. They never realized what they were doing, and now they're horrified.
The one that's horrified is the lady scientist who's been doing this. And I talked to Phil about this, and we're like, how it's different. I know that you're trying to do the parallel to when they dropped the bomb, and you're like, what have we done? But here, you make these robots and you're testing them out and they're like shooting things and attacking. But when you see them all together, you're finally like, oh shit, we made killer robots.
I assumed they were all making wacky technologies like the spider thing.
Someone had to assemble and test these, though.
I know, but it doesn't mean they have to be these specific scientists. They have other scientists from Apocalypse and stuff like that, probably.
Also,
I assumed the final result. No one knew what the final result. I thought they assumed they're making like wacky, goofy stuff, and now Apocalypse basically bastardized it to make it to a serious.
They were praying to the crime Bible earlier at Thanksgiving. They have to know what they're doing.
Wait, what was that?
At Thanksgiving, this woman prayed to the crime Bible, so she had to.
I know, and maybe they thought, and you said it's a goofy thing. Maybe they didn't take it seriously. Like they're all thinking this is a wacky, serious thing. And
I think it's weird that they're shocked by this.
I view it as a purposeful. The whole, not to give too much away, but the whole wacky scientist thing was a misgiving to mislead you. Think this is all one wacky, not unimportant subplot to set up for this. Like I think it was very purposeful.
But how do you, as a human being, not realize that the four horsemen of the apocalypse are not going to be good things?
Well, anyway,
I am not like Apocalypse has scientists. Like Egg Fu is a scientist himself. Like I am not even
Fu's
sure.
a scientist?
Yes, he's a scientist. Like he says, I believe.
Maybe he assembled them. They just built like a
eyes.
site for a big monster.
One of them
like,
did say,
"This
"I
is
built
fun."
those eyes." So maybe,
Yeah, I assume they're all building piecemeal parts, like the best eyes,
Yeah,
the best
maybe
this, the
they-
best
and then
that.
Egg Fu is in the background.
Yeah.
and also, for what it's worth,
Pretty
most
good,
of the
kinda.
scientists are like, "This is awesome." There's
Yeah,
only
you have to keep in
couple
mind,
that
like
don't.
Apocalypse is like a planet, like a hell, like a mecha hell planet. There has to be scientists on Apocalypse.
Wait,
like,
but are they on Earth here?
why wouldn't they be if Fu's on Earth? Why wouldn't they be?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
they
don't
transported
understand.
from Apocalypse Earth.
And this is not me. Like, it's
Whatever.
not me excuses. I think it makes perfect sense that like if Apocalypse is an equation, I think it makes perfect sense that they use different parts from each person and build
Okay.
these horsemen.
Anyway,
like, I always feel like I'm making excuses, but even reading the page, that was my immediate assumption. Like just to clarify to readers, like this is not. I really don't feel like I'm being crazy making excuses. I
No,
feel like
I understand what you're saying. Me reading this, I didn't realize they were coming from a different planet. I didn't realize that there was like other planet scientists that could be involved. I was like, these guys are the only people I was introduced to, so I'm like, they must have made these.
yeah, it's fair. I don't think they meant to mention Apocalypse or Dark Side Down.
They just mentioned it when they're reading the crime Bible. They're
Yeah.
like, from the Book of Apocalypse,
Which is already garbage.
yeah. So I'm like, whatever.
One thing
Okay.
that's important that you guys haven't noted is what do those machines say when they come out?
Black Adam.
And that's when they say, "Oh God, what have we made?"
Yeah.
So maybe it's in response to their sentience.
I really like their designs too. I'm not trying to shit on them. I think the
I
Force
am.
look cool.
It's dumb.
the Doom fan just fucking hates the Doom designs. He's a fucking Doom monster.
Doom makes sense within the universe of Doom.
These are Apocalypse enemies. Apocalypse will make these fucking enemies.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know Apocalypse, so I can't say no.
Okay.
So,
Cutting to the
yeah.
Himalayas.
So we cut back to more of the question being dragged up in his little cart.
They can't find Nanda Parbat either. She keeps asking people, "Hey, do you speak English? Where's Nanda Parbat?" Because it's like a hidden mystical, land.
Yeah, and she brings him. She keeps repeating, "I'm not crazy. I just want him to live. That's all I want."
And they're
How can that
almost
be
out of
wrong?"
morphine too.
Yeah, and she's like, "You have to help. No one knows English. She doesn't know what trails to take and what directions to go in." And then we cut back to where they're looking at John Henry Irons and the rest of the Teen Titans are looking at.
The dead superhero. One of the dead superheroes.
Before we jump to that, Renee's inner narration is so good because she talks about how like maybe it's selfish of me, you know, I could admit I don't want to lose another partner, another friend. I've lost so many, but I don't want to lose you too. We're in this together. I'm afraid of who I'll become without you. And then it's while she's looking at the map. After that, she says, "Which way do I go?"
She's saying she needs all the people. I could use some directions. I could use some help. Which way do I go? So
Yeah,
like,
it's a really great subplot throughout this entire thing, and her motivation makes so much sense since she's already lost another partner that she would risk Vic's life to bring him back.
Yeah.
Also, they've been calling the what happened with Lex's people the Reign of the Supermen, which I kind of liked. That they're like, this is like the name of the event of when all of them just lost their powers and fell.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's a very clever one.
Yeah.
So then, as they're investigating this, a little bug flies in.
It flies into a green monkey. You have to mention the green monkey.
Sorry,
Beast Boy.
I knew that was Beast Boy.
Beast Boy. Some green monkeys. It's funny because everyone knows Beast Boy. Like not only you, Phil. So like it's funny that.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, he's always just a green animal and everything. So then Natasha flies in as a little, she doesn't fly in. She flies a drone in that's a bug to communicate with her uncle. And she's like, I know something's wrong. He keeps going into a hidden room in his office. He's got something in there he doesn't want anyone else to see. And he's like, you have to be careful. And she's like, I'm trying. And also, I'm sorry for everything. Goodbye, Uncle John.
He's like, don't investigate. Just come home.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can get information that can expose him, and you
Yeah.
can't.
People have died. I have to do something.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Renee, and she's
So
using the last bit
terrible.
of the morphine on Charlie, and she's telling him we're almost there. It's not
Every
far
I hate the
enough.
noise. I hate the noise you're making, Charlie.
Yeah. Every
hate-
panel is him just making noises and her being like, I can't listen to this.
Yeah. And she's dragging him more up the mountain. There's like a snowstorm. and she's making noise, and she's saying "shut up already" to him, and she's,
Yes. So just to paint the picture, they're climbing up a snowy, basically climbing up Mount Everest, and it's Renee like desperately holding on to Vic on this sled, like trying to carry him up basically Mount Everest.
And she says, "I got nothing to keep you warm except this." It's the mask that she puts over him. So she puts it on him, and she says it'll provide some insulation at least. And then she
starts to think like, I think maybe I made a mistake.
Yep,
I think I've gotten this.
Don't know where I am anymore. I don't know which way to go. I'm lost. And so she uses the mask on him, and then the sled tips over, and when she tries to get upright again, it's covered in blood as he's choking out in the mask.
She says like, "You're my sense of direction, Charlie. I don't know who I am without you. Don't leave me, please, not again."
Yep. And as she says, the narration saying, "I can't do this again," she's crying and saying, "Please." She hears, "You never answered my question." So he goes, "Get this mask off my face, hard enough to breathe as it is." And then she takes off as he's coughing. She's telling him, "I'm trying to get you to Nanda Parbat to save your life."
So she realizes that Charlie's is not only is he cognizant, he was cognizant for the entire time.
Yeah. And she's crying now, and the tears are frozen on her face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's saying, "Some things you have to accept." And she's like, I don't know who I am without you. He says, "It's a trick question, Renee. Not who you are, but who you are going to become. Time to change, like a butterfly."
And that's what he was saying the other time, like, "Butterfly, oh, it's time to change, butterfly." And like, so this whole time it seemed like he was just delirious like he was before, but he was aware of what was happening. He was calling her a stupid girl because she was doing this dumb thing. Like, he was aware she was making a mistake.
And the snow is the way the sled was drawn across, and when it fell and everything makes a big bloody question mark in the snow. And the issue ends with, all of a sudden, the big temple of Nanda Parbat has appeared, and someone is coming. It
was right behind them. She almost made it.
So now, week 39 opens with Natasha and her, who we think is Skyman, but it's not. It's Everyman, sneaking into
Spoilers.
Into the like main research place where the scientist that keeps giving Lex those reports are. And when they go in, she's like, "Doctor, we need to talk." And he's like, "Oh no, what are you doing? Get out, get out." And the whole room explodes.
Yeah.
But Natasha and Skyman are okay. And they're like, "Why would he do this? Why would he bomb his own lab?" And she's like, "Well, I guess same reason he jammed the sprinklers and emptied the fire extinguishers. He's trying to burn everything, get rid of all the evidence." So
I just want to know, because Ryan makes it seem, it's so obvious it's Skyman. Everyman does a good job posing as Skyman. He's very supportive of Natasha, and when the lab explodes, he protects her and keeps her hidden from view.
It's only obvious to us because they've hinted at it like.
Does he have the powers of people he transforms into?
Yes.
Okay, because I was like, how did he survive this fucking blast too?
Yes.
That's a fucking strong power.
Yeah,
you get
to
to
eat people.
You eat Superman's nails and then you just become Superman.
Yeah. So you'd have to be able to chew his nails.
Yeah, like how do you chew his nails?
You have to eat someone who's a little less strong, and then you eat someone a little more strong.
Slowly work your way up. So she uses her powers to salvage as much as she can when Lex Luthor's like right hand woman runs in, and they start to salvage it, and they like hide up on the roof so they
ceiling.
Yeah, on the ceiling. So yeah, I guess the roof is the outside part. They hide on the ceiling, and Mercy, the right hand woman, is like, "Everything's salvageable. You save everything you can. I don't care how small. Every hard drive." And she's like, "Oh, Dennis, the doctor, you dumb bastard." So like he was trying to cover everything up.
And she found a piece of paper that prompted her to say, "You dumb bastard."
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it cuts to Ralph Dibny, who's now exploring the wreckage of Atlantis, and he finds some like crazy old man that might be Aquaman.
I think this is Aquaman, but we don't know the story.
I was looking up Aquaman's Wikipedia page today after I read this. It's complicated.
Aquaman had a brother who was a clone.
Of course, it's complicated.
I believe this is Aquaman. Yes.
It makes sense because Aquaman went crazy under the sea before.
Yeah, they keep it vague by them like, "Are you Aquaman?" And he's like, "If he lives, it's a victim of the magics of the legend of the powers of the sea." And he's like, "But maybe I could help you." So like he's either Aquaman or like, I haven't read Aquaman.
He also says there is no Aquaman. He is gone. He will come, I think.
Yeah, so it's like
he saved the city but lost his home. I can't remember.
Yeah, so it might be a crazy wizard, he might be Aquaman, might be both, I don't know. But he wants to Ralph is trying to get the shackles of Arion, which is some like ancient Atlantean magic artifact, and a warded link will, it'll be part of like the the magic that they're trying to harness. So they go to, I guess this is like Cerberus, but for Atlantis.
Yeah, basically,
Something
if you want one of the links of the chain that is going to force you to break the chain and let this beast out, and the beast will kill you. So there's like the only way to do it is to replace that link with something else.
And you replace it with the wedding ring he made out of the wicker Sudibni.
Yes. And, that he's been wearing for like quite a while. And that's the exchange he makes. So they get the ring and they get to leave.
I'm glad you guys had mentioned that he had a wicker wedding ring, because I don't think I would have noticed until this panel.
I didn't notice it until I read the letters in the back of the issue that were like, hey, did you notice that nice touch?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been there actually since we saw him in France with Detective Chimp.
That is a nice
Those
touch.
many weeks ago. So then we cut back to the island, and they have there's a bunch of mad scientists. One looks like a big clock man.
Oh, yeah, and they reveal like the Savannah's like, haven't those ridiculous horsemen left already? And the clock man is like, they canceled my thing. Like, what the fuck? Like, so they weren't building towards the horsemen. Like, the horsemen was not known to these guys. These guys weren't aspiring to.
Only the people that worked on top of the hill were working.
You
on the
missed
horsemen. Everyone
out.
else is just doing crazy
Mr.
stuff.
Clockman says, "Has Dr. Savannah found any sign of my missing 52 seconds?"
He says I wasn't even looking.
Also, this clock man, his name is Dr. Time, but with a Y.
Also, Dr. Savannah made artificial time in
time.
particle form called suspendium. And there's a reference here that they bombarded Mr. Mind,
The caterpillar,
with
suspendium.
From the very beginning.
at the very beginning, and he's like, whatever. I don't know what happened to him. I don't give a shit. I just bombarded this alien psychic thing with suspendium, and he disappeared. Probably not going to come up, but okay.
Well, that's the thing I love about the mad scientist jargon is some of it comes up and some of it is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. And then we see Will Magnus has been he's been going on Google, I guess, and he found evidence of red tornado in Australia.
So the funny thing is, Teomar is like trying to get him to talk to him more, but in BC, Will Magnus looked this up and reveals it to Teomaro to basically make Teomaro leave him alone because he
came in, he's like, hey, it seems like there's stuff missing, like tin cans for your beans, a missing gold watch, which we didn't mention earlier, lead shielding, and it's like the metal men, I assume.
Mercury thermometers.
Right,
and these are all things that they actually have mentioned throughout the whole
Yeah,
book.
they did mention all of these. And then he's like, I'm not being suspicious, whatever, I just get...
Hey, look, red tornadoes there. Go to Australia, Teomaro.
Yeah.
T-Morrow's made Red Tornado.
Yeah.
And then a tiny little Mercury shows up and he's like, stay out of sight, Mercury. And he's like, oh, sure, like I ever listened to a word you came out with. Say, Doc, did I ever tell you that I was the only metal that's a liquid at room temperature? And then we cut back to Kahndaq, where they're just still dealing with the fallout from Osiris, and Black Adam's like, maybe I should go talk to him. And Sobek's like, I think it would hurt even more. He believes the power inside him made him kill, that he's cursed, that all of you are cursed.
Yes.
And,
Black Adam's just like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Isis is like, he's a boy. He's trying to rationalize something he did, something he feels incredibly guilty for.
And as Black Adam, as they're debating whether they're cursed or not, it starts raining, and the rain starts melting all their flowers.
And Isis feels this because she's the... I was thinking about how she's the one who exposes that everything's dying, and I'm like, it makes sense because she's the nature person.
Yeah. So it's like I personally read this as like it's supposed to be like emulating like the biblical plagues. Of,
Yeah.
like, look, the
I
curse
view it as
is coming.
this omen of some type.
Yeah, it definitely.
Like the
And-
Four Horsemen.
Ooh.
From the Book of Revelations of Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
And then we cut back to Lex Luthor.
They're gonna
who
run the
is-
Everyman test on someone. Who are they gonna give powers to? Who?
Yeah. And this is when Natasha is like, I'm spying on Lex Luthor right now. Something big's coming on. Come on,
She's telling
Skyman,
she's
you gotta
telling-
help me out.
She's telling
This
Jake,
guy man's like,
what?
wait, I gotta show you something very important. You have to know this before we do anything else. And he's like, hell, here's your boyfriend's eating corpse. I ate him.
Yeah, here's your boyfriend. I ate his arm and leg to keep very powerful.
He says, like, I only need a toe clipping, but it really tasted good to eat your friends.
It's a really gruesome, just like full page of just her boyfriend cut up.
And,
not only that, there is a plate with a fork and knife and a wine glass.
Yeah, a glass of wine. I was like, oh, this guy's
Glass of wine, glass of blood.
maybe.
Yeah. And then he turns back into Everyman, and she's like, oh, God, please. And then he's like, come on, just another taste.
He
Once,
turns
you
into
know,
Natasha, saying that to her face.
Yeah. And then they
So
just start...
he's sitting there. He ate a piece of her before,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Hey, stop with just one. He's gonna eat more of you."
Yeah.
And Natasha starts beating the shit out of him, But before she can finish him off, like Luthor intervenes and blocks her
and
rays.
absorbs a blast.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Tell me, Natasha, did you earn the powers I gave you? The powers that I'm about to take away?" And he's super strong. And she's like, "That procedure was for you, but you were incompatible." And he's like, "You've always been a smart girl." Dennis lied all those times he reported back. He lied, and the paperwork that Mercy found was that he was eligible.
Yeah, so Dennis was trying to protect everyone from Lex, basically.
Thank God.
Yeah,
He's
and
like, he should have, instead of blowing himself up, like, I don't know, I guess what are you going to do?
Yeah, and he's like, "You're as much." Natasha says, "You're as much an animal as every man," and he says, "Wrong. I'm Superman."
And the way she blew up his chest.
I like
is
this.
revealed. It's basically shaped. It's basically the ribs are in the shape of an S.
It's not really a reveal as much as it is like that emblem. In
It's
the
a
middle is
symbolic
like-
gesture. Like.
Yeah, it's a symbolic gesture.
He's not. He doesn't have the S.
And a really cool cliffhanger next 52 and shows Steel holding a hammer going for Lex's face.
Yeah. And that according to the letters in the back, that S shield on Lex's chest was Keith Giffen's idea.
Cool.
So just so you guys know.
I thought you guys said that people don't shoot lasers, but Natasha's definitely shooting lasers here. Everyone shoots lasers. Don't lie to me. Okay.
She was shooting
It's
fire.
fire. It's fire.
Whoa. I thought we said there's no fire people.
Lasers are different from fire.
Whatever. Okay.
But we never says like no pure like fire people. And that's true. There's very few pure fire people.
So, okay, we have reached the 75% way through 52. Sly and I will not give any hints of what happens next, but how are you guys feeling at the end of week 3, or at the end of episode 3 as compared to the other two? Phil?
I still like it. Like with the other two, I'm like, there are certain things in here that I'm like, comics LOL. But overall, I like most of the storylines. I think you guys are right. The Question and Renee stuff is the most compelling. Going through it again, I'm like, that really is really fucking good. But I enjoy the Natasha storyline. The space stuff I got more interested in with the, Stygian horde that then got resolved, I guess, maybe. And I am enjoying it. I don't feel like any of the twists are so crazy that I can't believe it. Cool all around. I like it.
Wow.
Excellent. What about you, Darryl?
Yeah, it's it.
I don't hate it. You always assume I hate something just because I'm not in love with it.
The thing is, like, when you're not in love with something, you act like you hate it forever. Like, we
I don't
was
hate it
52.
forever. I always have qualms. I'm like, this part was a little weird. This was a little different.
Well, considering I think an easier way to look at it is in the context of most of like the superhero stuff we cover. How do you think this is like stacking up?
That's a tough one because I'd have to think back to a lot of the other. We've covered definitely a lot of stuff that you guys were like, this isn't that bad. Where I was like, no, this is. Whereas
I
like
don't
this,
mean like specifically up against this or that. I mean like as a superhero book, because I know
General
that's where most
se-
of your qualms come.
general
In a general
sense.
sense, are you
Yeah.
feeling like more engaged with this than usual, or less?
I would say so, but it's hard because this has so many storylines. It's like naturally one. Like I can't imagine anyone reading this and you just don't like any of the storylines.
Daryl, you're such a don't fucking bullshit us. You're more invested than most. You never fucking read books day
No,
of.
I really like that point though. That I think that speaks to the
That's a fair
diversity
point, but
of it.
you can't say he never fucking reads books until it's like the day of. He's so slow. You're more invested. Don't fucking like me. You can say you have qualms. That's very fine, but don't say you're not more invested. I've never seen you read a book day of. Like
You hate this and you love this. Fuck you, Darryl.
No, I'm just saying. Like at least admit I want to see what's happening next.
I do. I never said I didn't.
Okay, so at least say it, because clearly you're more invested than most stories you've read. Most of the time, you're like, I don't care what's happening. I'm not
Yeah,
going to read more.
you might be-
Your
you
response
might
to
be-
when we ask, would you read more, you say no. So don't fucking bullshit me.
I wasn't trying to, Sly. It's after 2 hours of sitting down in a hot room and reviewing everything. I'm not like, wow, this is amazing. I'm just hot. I just want to lay down. I'll be a fan on
I
it.
told you got a fan. You said no. It's almost over. Fuck you.
They're non-fans. We talked about this.
So I am definitely more invested, and I'm interested in seeing where it goes. It's also going to be tough because things wrap up. That's where I get the most critical, whether or not it lands or it doesn't land.
And that's what I want to say, because I'm always like, I don't remember where this or that goes.
Yeah.
It's not because like I hate the story and it's forgettable.
Yeah.
It's because there are the last week is there going to be a lot of key moments that were seared into my memory and they kind of overpower the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting when we get to those key moments.
Okay.
So we have one more episode left. So we will...
Wait, I have a fan theory.
Okay.
I had mentioned this to Phil. I think Dr. Mind has taken over Skeets. That's my fan theory. Because I'm like, it would be a cool twist.
Dr. Mind, he didn't go to medical school.
Mr. Mind, he said.
Mr. Mind. Shit.
Did you say Dr.?
Yeah, I said Dr. Mind. Mr. Mind, the little caterpillar guy, because usually he mind controls people or something. I don't know who he is.
I
But I'm
100% buy this. Because especially when they mentioned the suspendium radiation, I'm like, oh, that's time particles. This is somehow linked to the time stream. I buy this theory 100%. I'm on Mr. Mind as Skeets as well.
So I guess we'll see.
I really forgot. I forgot Mr. Mind is in the story until Ryan said he's in the story.
You're spoiling, because now I know he's...
No, I really forgot the story. I forgot what 52 is. I do not remember what 52 is. When we get to when we see these final pages, you'll see why these moments are so powerful. It's not because the plot is forgettable. It's because there are so many powerful moments that I just remember those moments.
Superman's gonna kill his own mom.
Okay.
You'll see what I mean. Like,
So, you'll all see.
Okay.
So remember, it's the Patreon drive, and we have already reached 2 of our reach goals. First, everyone's voting on what movie that everyone has seen that I have not, that I'm gonna watch and do like a live stream and talk about. I think right now Alien is winning.
Good
That's a
movie.
good movie.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. Some of the other things that people are voting on in the Facebook group, we got like Big Lebowski, Godfather Part 2, all these movies that everyone in the world has seen but me.
Yeah.
I never saw Big
Fargo was one of the ones in the running too, but
that
so far I
the
think
Tom
Alien's
Cruise
leading.
one?
So go,
Was that Argo?
I've never seen any of these movies.
I
So
never saw Fargo. If it's a comedy or
I don't know.
Fargo's the
like that.
Midwestern one by the Coen brothers.
I never saw that either.
Yeah. So go in the Facebook
There's
group.
2
and vote.
Coen brothers movies on there.
And
I was like, come on, guys.
The second goal we just hit, so the Flying Machine content channel is going twice a month. And I believe that the next goal, if we haven't hit it already, John and Malcolm will compose a song on a live stream together, and you could watch the whole song get written, so that's cool. And we have lots of other goals, so make sure you check out flyingmachine.network/support, patreon.com/flyingmachine, or the Facebook group, Flying Machine Explorers Guild. And like I said, I have lots and lots of new music episodes up, and those are just at the $1 tier. So as we try to reach the goals, even $1 or upping your backing, like $1 or $2, goes a long way, because the goals are they're not very spread out, so it's easy to hit them pretty quick. So yeah, thank you guys for all the support, and we will see you next week for the final conclusion of 52.
Bum, bum, bum.
52!
Thank you all for listening to Divisive Issues. I've been looking at a bunch of jerk-offs out the window.
I've been eating everyone's nails.
I've been Captain Comet, telethoughting across the galaxy.
And I've been the Atom. No, wait, I'm time traveling Booster Gold. Of course I am.
Stay in continuity.